I think we're good. There we go. All right, we're trying out a new system. Super tired today. I don't know how about you guys feel, but I was live streaming like from like I don't know what 2 till about 6 this morning, maybe 3 to 6 in the Patreon. Let me see if I've got people coming in. There we go. Getting the live chat going. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm just checking messages. Yeah. Alrighty. Oh, we got people watching. Okay. So we're going to talk about the Venus-Saturn conjunction. I know everybody's mind is on the 20th for lots of reasons. I have not changed my predictions. I don't see the how. I see the what. And I'm going to be stubborn about it. Okay. So if something doesn't happen this week, April, because of the Mars Pluto opposition, we are in a very unstable time globally. That's not just the United States, it's global. But we have a really, really cool bit of energy that we get to play with this throughout the weekend into Monday, and that is Venus conjunct Saturn. It's going to do it twice, okay, this year. This is the first conjunction that is in a forward direction is Monday. The next time it will be in a forward moving direction will be in April. Okay, which is an interesting month. For those of you who caught my 2025 year ahead, you know this is a crazy year. Hi everybody, thanks for joining. It's going to be a little bit wild, not lying. It's going to be a little bit wild. I might have a guest join the show. Oh, actually, hold tight. Let's see if I can do this. Hang on, check your email. I'm getting a hold of Susie here. Susie's probably going to join me for a little bit, just because it's more fun to talk to other people. Not that you guys are, chopped liver, but it's nice to have the voices, besides the voices in my head. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. Hang on a second. 1 second. Let me get this. But yeah, so super excited. Yeah, thank you for joining. Yeah, if you're coming in from YouTube, let me know. I connected this over to YouTube. Normally I'm just doing audio lives in the Patreon, but I wanted to be able to reach more people because I want you to really pay attention to this energy. This energy can be used to manipulate you, or you can use it to shape things you want in life. Hello, Ralph. I see the fish have arrived. You're just doing this because I can't taunt you with Sean Connery's chest hair. Okay, you were in YouTube. That's cool. And if you're using the Riverside link, let me know. I just upgraded my Riverside, so it should stream easier for you guys. Oh, awesome. Cool. And we're going to get the post up. Awesome. You guys are in from the Riverside link. Yeah. So if you're in YouTube, let me know. If you're in Riverside, let me know. The Riverside, we're going to keep using more for like Patreon. But again, I kind of wanted this to be available to people. So I warned people, and it's funny, people only hear what they want to hear. Okay. Oh yeah, no, it's Riverside is, I've been using Riverside to record my podcast since 2023, and it's up hands and feet above any other platform. So yeah. Yeah, Riverside is excellent. Yeah, I've been using it for a long, long time. It came recommended to me by another podcaster. This is recording now. It's most live streams are recorded. The audio lives are supposedly recorded in Patreon, but they're not. And I have a meeting with Patreon next week, so I'm going to bring that up. Thank you for letting me know you're coming in on YouTube. Okay. There you go. There you go. Well, that's why we did both. Thank you guys. Thanks for letting me know. That helps me because guess what? When you go to tech support, I'm my own tech support. So it helps me to know what's working for people and how it's going. Susie Evolutionary is going to join me. Let me just text her again really quick. And I'm just going to let her know what email I sent it to. The real Susie. And you can come in anytime. She just finished a live stream for her audience. So, and then if you're in the astrology crew, I'm going to get a link up to you guys to fill out a form so that we can make a schedule to have chats, and I'll do random draw for like 1 or 2 people to be on live streams with me, because it's way more fun for me to talk with other people. Not that we won't answer questions from the audience, we will. You got an, oh, awesome. I'm glad you got the notification. That's great. So we've got Venus in Pisces moving towards Saturn. This is going to be a really interesting time. It's very easy to be manipulated by the media. I find it also interesting that TikTok will likely go dark. They are retaining our information. So like they may go dark because of Apple and Google and what have you applying, obeying the law basically. And so, but they're holding on to accounts. Yeah. So, but I find it interesting, and I got to thinking about it. Like, it's interesting because Pisces is like entertainment, it's film, it's video, it governs, like Pisces is kind of in charge of our fantasies. And people always hear what they want to hear regardless. Everybody has a unique set of perceptions that are individual to them. And over the last several years, I kept saying when it came to what mattered going forward past 2024, 2024 and beyond, is that it was so much bigger than any one office, that there's a concerted effort to erode civil liberties. That's happening in all places. It wouldn't matter. You would still have the same Congress. You would still have the same state legislatures. When you look at what happened in Minneapolis, or not Minneapolis, in Minnesota this week, where they voted in a speaker without a quorum. A quorum is the necessary amount of people to hold a vote. It is a rule, a law, and they broke that. Okay, with just like, so what? It's like, oh, don't talk about democracy to me. The Georgia senator that got arrested. There's some crazy shit going on. And that's regardless of the the federal executive branch. So I warned people they needed to be involved at the local level and take risks in those spaces. So 2025 is a crazy year. We have Venus conjunct Saturn. I find it interesting that a form of entertainment is at least temporarily being blocked. And so it's important to use this energy to our advantage instead of letting it play us. Okay. A lot of times people get picked up by the energy and just slammed against the rocks of life, when we actually have the ability to manage our consciousness through this. And it sounds counterintuitive. And I got some backlash on TikTok because I did it. I said, you're the light, you're the hope, you're the magic. And not enough of you believe that. Not enough of you understand that. Why do you think billions of dollars are spent to manipulate you if you didn't have that, right? If you didn't have the capacity to make great change. And so now one person on their own can't make a huge difference. We can make a difference, but we only have so much scope, so much reach, so much power. Individually, collectively, if we hold our consciousness, it makes it harder for that energy to go to headway. Why do you think the media tries to drum up fear? Why do you think even on social media, the doom scroll that gets people going? It's easy to manipulate you to do something. And that's the energy working you instead of you working the energy. And I am not making it a blame game. I'm just informing. Okay. It is really, 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 really important to lean into your imagination, because this is really good magical energy if you grab hold of it. So there's going to be a lot of effort. Okay. And I'm not saying it's because other people understand energy. It's just the astrology reflects what's going on. So I see the reflection of the effort to kind of snuff out people's hope, their light, their etc., and make it harder for people to connect. Okay. Where in reality, if you hit the higher octave of this energy, you're far more able to make a difference. You're far more able to make a difference, which is pretty exciting. And how do you do that? You use your imagination. Einstein himself said your imagination is your greatest tool. Okay. And if Einstein said it, right, it's got to have something to it. Listening to music, writing poetry, not allowing despair to take over, because that feeds the things we don't want in this life. Okay. That feeds it. And that also lets the numbnuts win. Okay. So when you can hold your consciousness and at least not put it where you don't want it. And what is our consciousness? It's our attention. Where our attention goes, energy flows. Okay. So you don't have to do a special ritual. You don't have to do special spells unless you want to and it's fun for you. All you have to do is put your attention onto things that are a little more uplifting or soothing. In fact, in the Patreon, I'm going to go live around 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm not going to go earlier than that because that's just, I'm tired and I will have put out the podcast. So, but I'll come on and we'll do soothing. We'll talk about fun things. But yeah, but yeah. Oh, you took a stop on your drive, Alicia. You go, girl. Go have some fun. You deserve it. But yeah, listening to music, right? For that very purpose. Exactly, Kirsten. Listening to things that uplift you, listening, even if it just lets you suspend reality for a moment. In fact, on Monday, my guest on the podcast is Brandon Windsor, who is a client and friend. And he just wrote a really cute book called Good Love. Good Love, the Good Love novel. And we talk about, his process. We talked about, it's a really super cute thing. Hang on a second. I got another. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, so we talked about that on the podcast. You're going to really enjoy it. And you'll be like, why aren't you talking about serious things, Lori? The world is really serious. Yeah, the world is serious. There's never been a time when the world wasn't serious. There was a time where you were unaware of the seriousness of the situation. There has always been. And these moments in 2025 have been brewing my lifetime. And I'm 55. It has never not been on the way. And there were people who were warning and people who were trying to get people's attention. And they were called radicals and crazy people. And here we are. And there's no point in pointing fingers and doing a blame game. We still have the power to hold our consciousness. It's so important. It's so important. It's not about evangelizing to other people. It's not trying to get people to see the light. It's about seeing your own light. Because if you don't see your own light, you can't see anything else. Okay? If you don't see your own light, it's hard for you to see anything else. And doing that, this energy is really good for coalescing, our connection with the universe, that all that is our spirit, and bringing it in to the physical. So that is super fun. Okay. So lots of ways to do that, right? You don't go into the doom. You don't let despair overtake you. How do you do that? You turn your attention. Okay. Most energy work, most magic is so much more simple than people realize, right? Yes. Yes. Thank you, Melanie. Melanie just wrote in the comments, I truly appreciate your helping us ground. We need some positive focus. It's a great reminder. Thank you. There is a reason that the people we would prefer not to be in power, okay, those people do things that strike fear, cause disruption. There is a reason that they do those things, because when our cortisol is spiking, it's harder for us to connect to solutions, to our power. If you've ever been in an abusive relationship, right, then you will know that the one thing they do is they keep you off balance. And you're always wondering what's going to happen next. Your cortisol is high, your adrenaline is always running, and you can't make decisions, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, whatever it is, right? That's why this is triggering for so many people. But that gives them more power than A, they deserve, and B, they actually possess. Okay. If you can connect your soul self, your higher self, your inner being, I don't care what you call it. Okay. But imagine we are both spiritual and physical. And as we move into integration, that's what this time is for with Venus and Pisces and Saturn and Pisces. It is a grounding energy of bringing the spiritual into the physical. You are spiritualizing matter. And that's what they don't want you to do. And how do you do it? You go in your garden, you go for a walk, you go take a deep breath, you listen to some good music, you take a shower, you take a bath, you refresh yourself and get quiet. Get quiet. Don't let the noise be there. Get quiet. Because all of what you need is your listening ears on for the very still, small voice. And your higher self is you. It isn't better than you. It is not more than you. It is all of you. It is all of you. That physical being that is the body is the vessel that the universe has chosen. You are not less. I'm going to get my headphones on. Susie's here, but I wanted to finish my sermon. Hey, girl.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me because I wasn't prepared with mics and everything.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I just turned off my headphones. Hang on. I got to turn them back on. I can hear you.
Okay. I sound like an echo to me, so I don't know if I sound okay to everyone else.
Oh, no.
Oh, no is never good.
Okay. Oh, I got you on. Okay, it switched over to my headphones. Okay, because I was like, I went to switch my headphones, and it was like, you can't do that unless you leave the studio. I'm like, no, but it switched over.
Okay.
So, how you doing, beautiful?
I'm good. I just got off of membership live. Literally as I was ending it, I was like, oh, everybody, I'm getting a notification. Lori's live on Patreon. Go watch her. And as I said that, your text came up. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be there too. So I don't know if I have some of my YouTube community in the chat here. But
fine, because we're live on YouTube also. So we're live on YouTube. Wonderful. We're live on Riverside because I did Riverside. I upgraded. We have unlimited numbers now that people can tune in on. Yeah, super exciting. But I wasn't sure how well it was going to work for people or how easy it was for them to use. And so I put it live as a public live on the YouTubes, and
I could probably adjust my lighting because it's the Riverside is a much nicer studio. So my lighting is like cray. But if I adjust it right now, it will be tatas in the camera.
Don't worry about it.
Over, which is not appropriate.
That's not that kind of show we're on. We're going to end up having to do another. Me and Matilda joked about being right. We could go to OnlyFans. There we go. Well, I am not camera ready, but I wanted to reach as many people because of the importance of this Venus conjunct Saturn and Pisces. It's a big deal.
I was having a conversation with a very good friend that is also brilliant about astrology, but still learning. And so there was a concern because, she had a child traveling, and it was like the Pisces Venus conjunction, and the Pisces Saturn conjunction in Venus. And I was like, no, this is really wonderful. And also, the moon is opposing. So like that, the detail of the Virgo moon could care enough to actually put the creative endeavors into action. And she was saying, you only ever hear constrict or whatever, like the bad things about Saturn. I said, then you have to start listening to different astrologers. And then I went to bed, and then I woke up this morning, and there's your video. And I was like, Saturn is this, that, the other thing. And there's your video on TikTok this morning saying everything I was saying yesterday. So I love that you're doing this. And I just want to say, as a metaphysical practitioner, I was cheering you on. I believe deconstructing hierarchy in any systems that preach us hierarchy are so detrimental to healing trauma, to sense of self, to self-actualizing. And so when I say that ad nauseum, the most powerful person on your spiritual team is your higher self.
Yeah. Boom. Which is you.
Exactly. And, and this is why I fell in love with you. And I literally just also said this today, like, there was nothing better for my confidence than opening up TikTok or YouTube and finding you saying things that I believed in. I'm like, okay, I can't be wrong because Lori Rivers is saying it's the same thing.
Well, I'm saying what I was taught. I studied Hermeticism. I studied Theosophy. I studied, and I studied under some really, really great people, some of whom nobody ever heard of, but they were lifelong practitioners and so wise. And I've practiced it.
And it doesn't it really speak to how important it is to where you resource your information, right? Because there's a lot of people that could be resourcing information from bad pop astrology, and that's not really how any of that works.
Yeah. So somebody said that I didn't do it for free. I made this post for all members. Now the audio lives, I don't have enough chats, and it still takes a lot of energy. So I try to do a couple a month for free, and then everything else is going to go into the supporters because it's a lot of energy. So we'll probably do it a couple times though, because Astrology Crew and I might meet up and talk about stuff, and we'll release those videos, so, but yeah. I'm just working on it. I'm trying, but I haven't done that many TikToks. If you guys look at my TikTok volume from 2023 through 2024 through now, it picked up during the election because I got hit by bots.
So you get me started.
I reacted. Not gonna lie. Yeah, until people make content, I don't think they quite get it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're so it's not like
no showing tatas for free. Okay, Gabrielle. We're not showing our tatas for free.
No, and they don't need to know about our OnlyFans, the Susie Lori OnlyFans. Like, that's our business, right?
Right. That's right. And just like Matilda and I have the spicy sears. I'm kidding. It's one of our jokes on the podcast.
Right.
Because it always degrades.
We needed some.
It always goes south.
Sean fish. So now we're making.
Jokes. Yeah. Fish and Sean Connery. Yeah. Now we're making OnlyFans. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Gabriella. But yeah, I was like, wait, I made this for free too. So I got hit a lot on TikTok about that stuff. There was a lot of lies about my podcast not being free, and that's part of it. Pisces energy at the lower end is lies and rumors and gossip and bullshit. At the higher end, it's faith and truth and connection.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think no one... I think no one is allowed to tell you that you're not doing enough when you're running all the podcasts that you are, and a business and a magazine and 5 different levels, 6 different levels of Patreon, 6 different chats, a lounge, and the TikTok. I think, I think you exhaust me.
I let that one drop because with everything else, I exhaust me. I'm like, can all the things not happen at once?
Saturn in the sixth.
I dropped TikTok. Yeah, Saturn in the sixth, man. Is
and
like,
your Pluto, and your
it's like
and
being a
your
champ.
Scorpio rising. It's
But
just like,
sometimes,
can't kill Lori. Her work ethic is.
well, you know, what was funny was in 2020, and I've told this story before, and so you might know it, but in 2020, I was meditating on Pluto because I'll meditate on planets. And when I say I meditate on planets, I literally just kind of visualize that energy as I understand it. And then I let the awareness expand in my consciousness. And, I was like, okay, it was a very critical moment in time. And I was like, okay, just letting that energy just kind of float through. That's what I do when I meditate. I let whatever visuals come up, whatever, verbal messages come up, whatever sounds come up, and I just sit quiet. And, anyway, I got this really strong thought that said all you had to do was live to 2020. And I was like, that would have been nice to know. It really would. It would have been nice to know because it wasn't easy. And the next thought was, you wouldn't believe it. And that was correct because I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have in my teens or my 20s or my 30s. And I only would have started believing it in 2012, maybe, when I was about 43. Because that's where I had a flash of awareness. I was walking across my living room, and it's like, like they say, when you die, you have a flash of your life playing before your eyes. And it was like that. It was like a series of like boom, 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 boom. And it showed me the progression of my own infusing my soul self, source self, higher self, inner being, whatever you want to call it, into my physical, because there's actual practices to do that, right?
Yes, there is.
And all of a sudden, out of my mouth, words came out that I never believed ever. And it was, man, I'd do it all again if I knew I got to do this. And doing this isn't just running a business. The business keeps the physical body alive. But this is doing my spiritual practice and getting to help people understand they are a slice of space and time crystallized into physical form and one with the universe. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, Gabriella. Yeah. Go ahead.
And all of the astrological transits, especially the ones that are like, the Saturn return, the ones that come at certain ages, right? The chronological astrological transits. They are meant to bring us to this place where we can kind of synthesize and crystallize into hitting that sweet spot, finding our calling, finding our authentic self, which I know is like, I wish, right? If we all had $5 for every time we heard the term authentic self anywhere online.
Right.
Oh, it's true. It's so true. I mean, I feel like in my 50s, it's the prize at the Cracker Jack box. Like, I've had to do all the stuff to the bottom.
And it's a good one.
And I got the stick-on tattoo. My prizes are pretty good.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. The pre-safety regulations Cracker Jack prizes from when we were kids.
Yep. Yes.
They were good. But the stick-on tattoos are always the best. No. April asked a really good question.
Yeah.
I want to put this back up. I'm learning all the new toys I get to play with since I upgraded. So, and it says, April's asks, how do you distinguish regular stream of conscious thought from meditative thought? I am gonna say it's where I feel it, and I think everybody's going to be a little bit different, but it's where I feel it in my brain. So when I'm thinking, which is a conscious thought, I'm thinking, I'm figuring it out, you'll feel it in your brain here. You have 2 Cancer Mercuries, so we're both like, we feel it.
I'm a
Go
Gemini
ahead.
Mercury, but
Oh, sorry, Gemini Mercury. Right.
okay.
Do you feel it too? That's good. So
I
you're a Gemini Mercury, even though
that,
you're
yeah,
Cancer.
that you have a library of knowledge, and then you have that pineal gland, and you can ask your guides to actually.
Well, that's here.
Yeah. The crown.
This is the frontal lobe.
Yeah.
That's the figuring it out where we don't know, right? The pineal, you're correct. Right here, middle of the brain is where I feel and to me, there's no separation between my consciousness and my meditative consciousness, because it's you. You are you. You are the angel.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. The library.
I tell everybody, envision it's your library. Make the doors look like whatever. If they're ornate and wood carved, make it. That is your library of knowledge. That is everything you've collected through information. And if you're not sure, is this like a claircognizant hit? Is this a meditative hit? Or is this an intellectual? So the way that I do it, because your guides can use you like the operation guy, willy willy, if you like, if you ask them to. So that the third, if you want to create third eye stimulation for anything that's meditative, and if it's coming from your library of knowledge, have them give you some kind of feeling to the back of your head.
Yeah.
This is a really great tool until you can do, and then eventually you won't need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Training wheels for figuring the difference out.
Yep. Yeah. You can demand things of the universe. Like most people think, oh, I gotta ask nicely because you were trained that we deal with the great and terrible Oz somewhere. And to be honest, you are here on a special mission. And it may not feel like, I used to hate that, by the way, especially like in my 20s, because they'd be like, they only send in the crack troops or toughest soldiers. And I was like, well, I quit. I'm going AWOL. I do not want to do this. I would like to just go back to source. I have had enough. Thank you. Do not need more owies. I'm like, I do not believe I volunteered for this shit show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is
at the same time. Yeah. Right. But the thing is we are here on purpose, but we didn't pick our trauma. We didn't go, oh man, I really want to have this heartbreak. But we did come here to experience all of the feelings.
Right.
Good and bad. But we didn't pick out, like, I made a contract with this person, so they brutally abused me. No, we did not.
Agree.
That, if anything, is oppositional energy to our purpose.
And my humble opinion on too is the whole like the strongest soldier. I used to hate hearing that also, like, oh, you're getting it because universe, and a lot of times people would tell me in whatever religious deity thinks you're strong enough to handle it, and I would say I am not taking that on. That sounds like a load. No, I'm telling universe I can make money in my sleep. I like things to be easy. It's and that creates the dependence. That's why I was so excited when you were talking about higher self being like the most powerful, because creating dependence on something that allows you happiness, or if you're strong, you're just going to get more shit. That's for the birds.
Yeah. One of my teachers years ago, because I used to, before I had an evolutionary jump in consciousness or self, every time I would have an evolutionary jump, I would get the most horrendous migraines, because literally the bones of my skull would open. Usually you get that during a cranial sacral treatment. I would have what's called a spontaneous cranial, to the point where once I vomited in public out of a car. That was super fun. And I was with one of my teachers. Okay. This was back in 1999. And it was very embarrassing because we went to lunch. I didn't feel very good, but I didn't want to be rude, Libra moon. And so I didn't tell anyone, and I was feeling kind of woozy. And we got into their car to go back to their place. And all of a sudden I went, I got to roll down the window, because it was still the roll down the window days.
Yeah, that's we're roll down the window old.
Roll down the window old. And because you had to be really fancy to have the electric windows in 99. And so I'm rolling down the window, and I'll never forget there was this poor Asian lady in the car next to me, and the look of horror on her face as I leaned out the window and just
Yeah.
projectiled everywhere. Because she probably thought I was drunk or on drugs, and I'm like, oh my God, the worst thing, 11th house moon in Libra, public humiliation. Oh my God. And so we got back to their place, and he adjusted my palate. It hurt like a bitch because in order to readjust the bones, he's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're going through. He goes, I've only known one other person do this. And Thomas was an amazing healer. Amazing healer. So he readjusted my palate. And it was that day that I actually did a process called soul infusion for the first time. And that's just kind of understanding, and I understand it differently than I did when I was younger. You know, it seemed very mystical and magical and important
Right.
and dire and life and death. But it was recognizing, all it is recognizing your connection and bringing that part of you that is the greater part of you and putting it more and more in the container. And did life get perfect? No, it did not. There were still trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
but it was less. And then he channeled, because he was a channel. And he was the one who walked me through ending up being a channel. Did not ask for it. It just happened. And so he was a great guide on my journey. He just passed away last fall.
Aww.
And he'd done his job. He's on our side in
I'm just thinking you've had two
realm.
like very important people in the last.
That was my Pluto opposite sun. Yeah. I found out that two of my teachers and guides, I have none left.
Yeah,
I have none left. I have no more teachers that are alive that I was close to.
You are the teacher now.
Yeah, and that feels weird. You know, one day you go from the eager student, and then suddenly you're the old chick that knows shit. But that's something my dear friend Ann would tell me. She goes, I don't know how this old lady showed up in the mirror, but here I am, you know.
You're a seasoned chicken instead of
yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
Very well.
And what I'm going to say is very well seasoned, marinated. But what doesn't kill us doesn't make us stronger. It can make us bitter and resentful, and we have to learn how to. Yeah, and one of the things that was very helpful was after that moment, we sat and we channeled a little bit, and I was told, you will never struggle in the same way again. And it was true. The abuse that I had suffered at such extreme levels, it just wouldn't stop. I used to think, why do I have this neon sign that says abuse me? Well, there were lots of reasons. There were programs, there was signals, there's subconscious signals. It was my normal. I did not trust people who treated me well. I did not trust people who actually loved me. You know, oof. And so when you're normal,
at the end of your Saturn return in 99, yeah, or just finished, because 99 was my Saturn.
That event, yeah, May 11th was my Saturn return. And this happened in April. It happened.
Wow. Sorry, I was doing the astrological math in my head. 99.
Right. You were doing the math. She was like, "This is how astrologers are." Like, wait, that was your Saturn return.
Everything,
yeah, my Saturn return.
You can't watch a show where we're figuring out the rising in their Mercury.
Right. It's like, yep.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah.
That's amazing.
The audio will be clear. Is it robotic for everybody? You're hearing it fine, right?
I'm hearing you fine. You're going in and out of pixelation at times, and then you become clear again.
So are you. It's okay, but the replay will be perfectly clear, and the audio will be perfectly clear. So some of that's going to be the bandwidth. Well, some of that's bandwidth. So it could be the bandwidth from going to their place. It could be just the bandwidth being used now. So, but yeah, thank you for letting me know, though, because that really helps as we go forward. So you're having storms. That'll definitely cause a shrink in the bandwidth or a disruption to the bandwidth. Yeah. It was really windy here today. So like, as in, holy crap, it's Wyoming. It's like, whoo. So yeah. But Yeah, these things, and this is a really good time to integrate. It's a really good time to integrate. A little bit at a time. You don't have to do it all. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. But don't let them rob you of your connection through fear.
Absolutely.
What are your plans? You got a bunch of readings. What the hell?
That was very lovely. Yes, I was in my, weirdness, not sleeping. I kind of never sleep. I have a friend that also never sleeps, and I'm like, I don't, one of us needs to sleep, right?
Mhm.
But I was up and getting the email, so I get very excited. I have literally text as soon as I have hung up the Zoom, Lori, and because I love knowing that she totally gets it. It's my favorite space to be in is client sessions, because it feeds my brain, it feeds my soul, it feeds every part of my my journey. Honestly, it's the stick-on tattoo with the Cracker Jacks.
Right.
But yes. Well, I just did a membership live tomorrow. I'm actually I have one session, and then I'm doing a whole a thing with ESAR tomorrow, just to add to that astrological knowledge
base. Yeah.
Can't get
Somebody's
enough.
asking, right? For some reason, like my Tuesdays were off on my calendar, even though I had the hours in. It was a glitch. It was a Wix glitch. And I'm fine because I have a lot I have to do. So I'm kind of like, well, I'm okay not reading on Tuesdays this month. But the Tuesday is back on in February, guys. If you're patrons, then remember you've got discounts. We're gonna be live for quite a while, Gracie. Gracie, all right, we'll go back over some of the Venus Saturn conjunction. But yeah. On Red Note, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's just I'm not going to make that much content for it because I wasn't making much content even before the election on TikTok, because TikTok really I refuse to fall in line with trends and bullshit. I'll do some, but I'm just going to give my information. I believe that the people who resonate will come, and I don't want a lot of people relying on me. Like, as in, there's a lot of codependent people out there, and like it really got ugly, but it was bad before. It was bad even like make me have hope. I can't. I'm not God.
Yeah,
I can't give you hope.
I kind of
your
lost
own
your
self.
comment. I'm gonna admit my Cancer Mars Aries Moon mutual reception square got activated a few times in your comment section because people were like,
I enjoyed that.
I'm like,
she went Mama Bear. It was great.
Yeah. Please explain to me how she is responsible for your whole happiness, and that's about managing your expectations if you're disappointed. Like that's not.
And also remember, I said get involved locally. I said get involved at the state level. I said there was shit that was going to go down that you were not going to like, and it wouldn't matter the administration. But nobody ever remembers I said that. And Leah finished writing her music for a commercial. Oh, I love that. She was in Flow today.
That's wonderful. I felt very.
I wanted to share this. Look at that. Good example. How'd you feel? Tell me. There we go. How'd you feel?
Me today, I was like super excited to do my membership. We're just doing like a small learning series. It's not like a full-on class, but it's in the but just getting the graphics together. You know how I love a good graphic. Just getting the graphics together.
You do.
Yeah. Like in the learn and just and I sat even just giving myself the Pisces is in my 6th house. So like this conjunction is in my 6th house, and sitting and like giving myself a little mini facial and fully doing my makeup, which I don't always do. You just happened to grab me after I did.
It was so funny. Well, because we've been talking about doing a live, and neither one of us have been sleeping. And so I've been like either up at weird times, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm not texting you at 3 a.m, you know. And so because you've probably just gone to sleep or something, you know. So I knew I was hopping on now, and I texted you. I'm like, come in anytime.
Yeah, that was
Just,
perfect.
you know, you don't have to.
That was perfect. Yeah, but just feeding the creative side, and like, and even like that Virgo moon, like the details, like I wanted, you know, to make sure my eyeliner was sharp. I wanted to make sure the graphics were, you know, extra, so they were easy to read. Just all of that.
Moon in Virgo.
Yeah, the moon in Virgo was opposing the. So on the other side of that seesaw, sometimes the opposition is like a seesaw, and it's like, hey, we have all these different energies.
Well, and you can bring them together, like at the higher level. We bring it together.
Yeah.
The whole Pisces party is happening in Damien's third house.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Hi, there you go.
I love Damien.
Right?
Yeah. So
I'm about to cry frustration. Oh, because of the same project. Yeah. Now that was probably some of that square action that was happening. Because sometimes when we get squares, what it is it's creative process, but it's like contractions. And so the pain, the frustration, and then release, and then you get in the flow.
It's so interesting. I love seeing all the different houses and how this is expressing. I also got up in the middle of the night and made homemade pretzels, which are a cross between like an old-fashioned like Dutch pretzel and an Aunt Annie's pretzel, the way I make them.
Nice.
Very Pisces, Saturn, Venus, 6th house. Listen, lady, you're responsible for all my late night snacking. Every time I hop on a Patreon live, every time it's like, join Lori Rivers. Somebody is eating something, making something, and next thing I know, I'm making bagels and making a salad. Like, I can't ever get through one of your Patreon.
Well, I've been
without snacking.
I'm losing weight, but I really want to, like, the urge to bake, and I've been fighting it, and I've been fighting it, and I've been fighting it. And I think tonight I'm going to have to bake, because I'm like,
I have 2 Tauruses at home to consume what I make, so I don't have to.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So
if I make too much, my mom's best friend has young men still at home in their early 20s. One is a late teenager, one's early 20s. So I make too much, I can always send it to mom's best friend. So
yeah. In my old job, I used to make stuff. When I got in the mood, I would make stuff and then take it into work, and I would eat very little of it. Because like you're tasting while you're cooking, sometimes you don't even want like a full portion of whatever it is you just bothered to make.
Right. You just want to taste. You just
and I just wanted to make it. I wanted the finished product.
Right.
Like, this like thing that started as an idea and came to fruition and was amazing and delicious, and like then be like, here, people, you enjoy it. Yeah.
I don't use whole sign, guys. So you don't ever have to refer to whole sign with me. I just use Placidus. So now the fun thing, by the way, because I know you guys always want to know about the politics, and to me, that's the keys. Oh, my battery's low in my headset. God damn it. That's okay. It's like keys to get people like, here, look, attention. Saturn moving forward is really bad for Trump. Okay. I just want you to know that. So I know you guys are all biting your fingernails, but I want to remind you, and I remind myself, I don't question my skill level. Okay, I don't. Like in the Patreon where we have the links only, that's actually to verify my predictions. And they come in hot. Boom, 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 boom. Including the Zuckerberg one. The mass migration I predicted.
Yep.
Oh no, poor Zucky. The exploding rocket for this week.
I mean,
the iceberg out of Antarctica. That was so hard.
I'm a nerd. I have Mercury conjunct my effing MC in the 9th house, and all the like what Lori does, especially with weather, is singular. I say this all the time on my own channel. I probably don't have anything where I'm not mentioning you and haven't been doing that for 2 years. But like the goat, that is a skill that you will not see a lot of other astrologers do, because it takes like an insane amount of knowledge to synthesize the sign.
So hard to get like an iceberg. And it happened on the week, and I thought, am I pushing things? Like, even when I wrote the prediction, I was like, am I just flying? Am I being Icarus here? This is a little audacious even for me. But I was like, no, I really see it. I'm going to put it. And yeah. Oh, there was an earthquake in Mexico City today? Or yesterday while the moon was in Virgo? I haven't seen that. It wasn't bad, was it? I really hate it when I'm right about those and people get hurt. That bothers me. I hate that. I try to give it so people have a heads up.
You and I were having a conversation one late night where we were saying, like, sometimes we feel icky, like seeing something coming, and like, you know, we want to be wrong sometimes.
Oh, so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
I'm in college.
Even I think I told you this in a personal phone call, but that not this last week, but the week before, you talked about, you know, water outages and water wars. And I live in an area on purpose where we should not be getting snowstorms. Nothing is built. My state went into a state of emergency because we got 10 inches in less than 5 days. And there was ice, there was no plows, and about 2 towns away, the water main broke. There was E. coli. There was a major town that had no water for 6-7 days with no warning that it was going to happen. And all the neighboring towns were on a water boil advisory. And on top of that, you could not find water anywhere. So talk about water. It was such an exact fruition of your prediction. And I was like, I usually see it coming through in the news. It's not usually in my backyard, but I told her, I was like, hey, Drew, in the backyard. Yeah.
Right. And the water wars, in a very specific reference, is kind of akin to what happened in the 1800s with the ranchers and the farmers fighting over water rights. And we're going to see that more globally because of Nestle's exploitation, different countries trying to retain their resources. I think we're going to see a lot of problems between the US and Mexico over water resources and water rights as part of climate change. You know, and there's been misuse of our resources too. But yeah, Moon in Leo was the fire prediction. Yeah, and I didn't say California exactly. It didn't surprise me because I know there's going to be flooding in California. Usually, floods kind of are preceded by fires. There were 3 on the 12th. There was a 6-2. 15th was a 4142. Yeah, so. Film scoring. Oh, very cool, Leah. Hang on a second. I want to see where's the moon at now. Ooh, we're at 17 degrees right now. Okay, so this is fun. This is exactly squaring off with Donald Trump's Uranus right now. As is Saturn and Venus starting to square off with his. He will not be able to wreak havoc in the same way. I do believe there's stuff happening. Again, if we don't see something happen one day, April 24th is going to be something. I don't think there's been too much talk of oath keeping and not breaking oaths. So, yeah. So it may not get reported on. A lot of times when I make a prediction, it doesn't hit the news until 6 months later. I had something about radiation leaks with the power plant in Ukraine. This would have been 2021. And in 2022, a news story came out for exactly the time period. They're like, well, you know, it leaked in November. And I was like, so...
I mean,
RFK does not have good transits at all right now. Mars has moved back into his 12th house. So, yeah. Um, I don't think he would. He would only save it as a propaganda piece for himself. The moderation and you'd see extreme censorship. It's not going to be the app, because they're not going to be able to do it that way.
Yeah, it's going to be a Truth Social version of TikTok. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's the one who wanted a band anyway, because he thought that, everybody was throwing parties.
That's why I joined.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was so right. And he thought that's what made him lose. What I think is so funny is the person who swears he won 2020 also mad at TikTok because he thinks it helped him lose at 2020.
Mm-hmm. And now he's claiming it helped him win, which that's not true.
Right. Well,
but yeah.
Win, though? I am one of the people in real life that did not have their vote counted, and I was 100% registered for quite a while, and I went 2 weeks early and voted in person. So a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the election, there should have been no reason that my vote. Now I don't live in a swing state, so it didn't. We actually turned blue regardless, but still.
I can't count how many patrons come in and show their ballots hadn't been counted or marked as received. There were ballots that went to the wrong state that had been mail-ins. There had been, no, there was interference. We'll just see what happened.
Yeah, and I also think
and Biden didn't necessarily sign to ban TikTok. He agreed to an aid package. This was tucked in. He could have asked for it to be amended, but they purposely put it in something that had time sensitivity to it, whether we agree with that or not.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, yeah. I think it's really interesting too, the conversations happening around the way this brought global citizenship together because of the mass signing up for Red Note and having the humanity just be understood for people who thought that this was, like finding out that they have almost no homelessness. They don't pay like half the tax, right? So we're all sold.
They don't pay for ambulances.
Right. So it's a deconstruction of propaganda, because just the same way they want TikTok banned because we were able to see things, they couldn't talk us out of what we were seeing with our own eyes, right? They couldn't spin a news that and we were connecting and organizing. And now we're doing that with the beautiful human beings over in China and understanding each other more than we ever did before. And so there is, I believe, that is I hate the fear it's probably causing for people who solely make their money there. I feel for those people, I really do. I
do. And when the first mention of a ban, like when I went on and then I grew an audience, I purposely didn't. So you have to diversify in some kind of way. And obviously it was going to be the better source of income for people selling direct product.
Right.
I think that'll get picked up in other.
Yeah. I feel for any anxiety
platforms
they have around right now, and not everybody keeps himself as informed as you and I go looking for the
It's true. Yeah. So, exactly.
Those are usually people who have more anxiety, and part of the reason they don't go gather information, because sometimes the information gives them anxiety, so then they're their own worst enemy.
It's a loop.
Clap your hands if you know what I'm talking about. You haven't just gotten to that point yet, and I promise someday you will. But, I think it created this kind of a bigger global unity through the actual people, rather, because the countries, the leaders of the countries.
Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah.
Well, the leaders of the countries are trying to hang on to, basically, there isn't a country in the world that doesn't have an autocracy of some kind.
Right.
And freedom and democracy on a wider universal level is very hard to retain, because you have to take responsibility for yourself and your actions and be accountable. And it's really much more fun to blame somebody else. I remember when I was finally divorced and living on my own, and really living on my own, no kids, nobody else, just me and Mal. And Mal is my dog, for those of you who don't know. And I do drink all the half and half. And I am who leaves those coffee cups laying around? Who would do that? Who does that? Me. I do that. I do.
We're
I leave
careful.
the coffee cups in stupid places. Yeah. And that seems like nothing, but those would cause arguments, like who does this?
Yeah.
And so it was so much easier to blame the kids or my ex or for their,
Right.
being inconsiderate. But I was the one who was inconsiderate with the coffee cups.
Yeah. My mom used to have a thing on our
yeah.
refrigerator growing up that said nobody lives here. And it was like, nobody did this, nobody did that, nobody was responsible for this, nobody, and it was always like, she had 4 kids and a husband. And so like, who did this? Nobody. I wasn't me. Oh, nobody did it. It just happened on its own. So now we have nobody to say who did that. Right. It's definitely us.
The ninjas did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Gabriella said in an earlier comment about Trump, he caused the ban and now he wants to fix the issue. Yeah, that's called Munchausen syndrome. Let me give you, let's create a problem so I can be the hero and fix it. Absolutely. Trump has Munchausens for everything. Yeah.
They were pointing at a ghost and named nobody. That's funny. When people are talking about Pluto and like class warfare and stuff, Pluto is always about evolution. And I think we get closer to a Star Trek world within 20 years. Closer, maybe. We'll see how it goes. I mean,
I just want the Judy Jetson thing that goes over your head and you're done. That's the only thing I'm asking for. Just
oh my God.
Jetson helmet.
If they can come up with driverless cars, give us like face stamps. Like, can we have face stamps? And maybe it applies the tape so we don't have to get work done. We can just a little tape. But Pluto's never revolution, even though it's in Aquarius. It's not revolution. It's evolution. Uranus is revolution. And people are kind of conflating the two. And I get really into semantics on this. But Pluto is, and it's not the destroyer either. We would have blown, I argue without Pluto, we would have blown ourselves up. Mars is really more destructive. Pluto is more like the bomb squad.
Yeah, it's diving to the depths too. It's I lovingly call, I have Pluto on my ascendant and Lori is a Scorpio rising. And I lovingly call either of them are Phoenix rising, right? Like it's that Phoenix, but like what happens with the Phoenix is you go to the depths and then you come back with that knowledge. It helps the transformation.
And so the collective is going to have to, but it's not the French Revolution, because the French Revolution, first of all, Pluto, French resistance, we're on the opposite. We're on the flip side of that. Right. And we want to do the French resistance. And I've been saying that for years. Think French resistance, not French Revolution. Uranus was discovered right before the French Revolution, not Pluto. Pluto was not in our consciousness. It was at 15 degrees of Aquarius when the French Revolution started. So it was not at the beginning, and it was not in our consciousness. You cannot apply things to our consciousness from the past. It was super subconscious. Like it was there, but it wasn't influencing. The minute something comes to our awareness and our consciousness, our reality changes, because our reality is shaped by our perceptions. So it was Uranus.
So exactly what you just said is our awareness now of community, of the people, right? The actual human beings that live in China. That is, it's a beautiful expression.
And if we got to know people from Russia and we got to know people from the Middle East, from all the different cultures and peoples in the continent of Africa, remember it's a continent, not a country. And there are many ethno groups and cultures there and languages. People are not monoliths. There's many different, even in the Russian territory, right? There's many, many different ethnographies and cultures. We try to just in order to other, we have to cause some kind of hegemony and be like, they're all like this, those people, all women, all men, all and we don't have monoliths, you
Right.
know.
And
So
we as humans don't all want to be associated with Trump's behavior because we live in the geographical, because we were,
right.
yeah. So we can't, yeah. It's very imagine
Yeah.
all the people.
Right, exactly. I love that they played Imagine at Carter's funeral. That's my very, very, very favorite song.
Yeah.
It is Imagine All the People. I went to university in England, but the student body, it was a very small school, and I purposely chose a small school. I actually turned down full rides to like USC and places like that because it was so big, and I was from a small town. And I was like, I'm not going to know what to do with the bigness of all of that. That alone will overwhelm me. So I went to a small school, even though I was in another country. There were 400 students on campus, and we really got to know one another. And everybody was from another country. And there were people we had 70 countries represented. Wait, no, 140 countries represented, 70 languages. And in that little student body, people from Malaysia, and there were Chinese Malay, there were Malayan Malay, and then there was Bengali Malaysians, Indonesians, people like from all over India, Iraqis, Iranians, Saudis, Qataris, Bahrainis. That's how I met my kid's dad. People from Jordan and Palestine and Israel and Lebanon, and did everybody, we were not all best friends, but we learned to understand one another because we had a couple of things in common. We were all young. For the majority, there were a few older students, but we were all pretty young. We were all away from home. And we had to get to know one another to function. And that was kind of the premise of that university, was that people from all over the world who might end up decision makers in some way, shape, or form would get to know each other as human beings. And that's why I picked it at 18. I actually picked it for that reason. I knew us. I want to know what did they eat for breakfast? Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't like. And I was terrified when I got there because there were people from countries that on our news and the propaganda we're raised with, as far as I knew, they wanted to kill us. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. What did I decide? I was 18 and I was ignorant, And then I started to get to know people and hear their stories. And they were just afraid of what I might do to them, or had other propagandized beliefs about who I was as an American. And once we realized if we had conversations, we suddenly saw each other as human. Even if I was like, that human's an asshole, they were an asshole because they were an asshole, not because of where they were from, the color of their skin, how they looked, the music they listened to, the clothes they wore, the car they drove. And it taught me a lot. And they were all all of those students had a much higher privilege level financially than me. I was the poor kid, because they talk about 1%. That was an eye-opening thing. But they also had a lot of disadvantages because they were so insular. There were things they didn't know about the world, and including how to make a cup of tea, or how to make their bed. And I would find kids rocking, like literally rocking, having a mental breakdown because they had never had to make a bed. They had no idea. They didn't know how to get the sheets on. They were freezing to death. Did not know how because it was really cold. Hogwarts is not a warm place. And so I would teach people. So it taught them to have compassion for people as well. So it was an interesting social experiment.
Did a lot of them speak English? Or at least a little
almost
bit?
Almost everybody. They had a TEFL class for the kids whose English wasn't as good because some of those rich kids, they had never been schooled, like their teachers couldn't teach them. They couldn't be like, hey, you didn't get on with us. So there was TOEFL classes, but most of the kids had pretty good English. And again, I had to learn how to speak other people's languages, because
it was very eye-opening that like other countries all kind of, we're the ones that are limited in language.
Yeah, the fact, and that's why I'm excited about Red Note. Since
Yes.
when in the history of America? Because I learned to speak other languages young. I learned French when I was in preschool. I learned Spanish and German. I understand it, can't speak it. But since when do Americans decide to learn another language unless they're a weirdo with a lot of ninth house going on, you know? Right? So it was super, super fun. So super, super fun and taught me a lot. The only thing I'll miss Facebook for is we had an alumni Facebook group. And that's the only reason I would check in is to go see, you know, go see how people were doing. We're all getting old now. We've started to lose people over the years, and some because of where they live. You know, most of my Palestinian friends actually don't live in Palestine. They left. Um, you know, a couple of my Lebanese friends don't live in Lebanon. They left. They're in Crete or Greece or, you know, somewhere else. But yeah, right. 170 million people on TikTok know about Red Note. You know, how cool is that? The things I'm watching on Red Note are there's patrons be good. There's really cool fish tanks, which I love fish tanks. Tom Cruise does not ever get to come to my house. But here come the fish emojis.
Yeah.
But they make these like flower arrangements in the bowl and then they put it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Really pretty.
I am loving the recipes because
Oh my god.
I had been cooking Asian food when I moved out of New York and I moved to some place where I could not get any good ethnic food. I was like, I'm going to learn how to cook everything I miss, and I spent like 10 years, 16 years, really breaking down everything. But yeah, I'm enjoying a lot the funny. I love the like I will be your father figure sound to the I'm your new favorite spy.
Yes.
Humor is hilarious. I'm a big fan of the I love cat content, like funny cats, cute cats, whatever.
Oh my gosh, yes. The red pandas.
Yes. Yes.
The red they have red pandas like raccoons like we do. They get in their garbage. Oh my god. How cute.
Yeah.
And I was inspired to make a spring onion pancake. That's why I was on live on audio in the Patreon this morning and I was starving. And I was like, oh man, I just saw that. And then of course I know how to make it, but it just inspired it. And I was just like, okay, spring onion potato pancake because needed some beef.
Yeah. Favorite impressive Asian food tricks. If anybody, I don't care if you order out, right? And this is the only thing you do, but go find a fortune cookie recipe because fortune cookies are moldable. Obviously, that's how they get them that way. You cool it on the back of a cupcake tin and it'll cool almost like a lily or a flower. And then I make a ginger orange like gelato. You can just do a basic. It's very, very easy.
Yum.
And then I freeze those on the inside of the cupcake containers. So like if you have 2 6 and then, then you can do like orange shavings or little whatever. And it looks like these like little lilies, but it's gelato. It's orange. Ginger gelato in a upside down fortune cookie. It's very impressive if you ever want to impress somebody, and it's a lot easier than it sounds.
I'm really hungry now.
Yeah.
Yum.
I was a single mom. We had no money, but I could provide an experience. Emily and I would get in our kids. He would get my little guy would get in the gi, and we would get in our little Mandarin pajamas, and we would and I would make a big spread because that's I could do. I could cook and make the experience. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I would do with my kids. We didn't have money, but I could expand.
We're Kansas.
Yeah, we're Kansas.
I love the way Lori says that.
Kansas.
Sounds like
so. Right. But yeah, always. And it is funny because Sarah said it so many times. She's like, we may not have had anything, but mom would make the magic.
Yes.
And I've always, even when I was resisting my spiritual pathway, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with resisting your spiritual pathway. That's part of life. that we tend to resist our north node and lean into the south node because it's more comfortable. It's the old pair of shoes. Yeah, they got holes in them, but that's fine. They're comfy. New shoes are always pinchy. And so, but I always did have, because my mom is whimsical. My mom decorates for every freaking holiday, and it is like being the daughter of Buddy Elf. And so, for real, like we hit every store for the after Christmas sales because she has next year's Christmas being planned on the decor. The fence posts are decorated outside. Anything she can stick a decoration has something, whether, and she does it for every holiday. So we're Valentine's Day decorating right now.
I used to be like that. I've run out of steam for that. God bless her, because
well, she's a Leo rising, Virgo moon, Gemini sun. So she's Tinkerbell, and she has Pluto on her ascendant. She's a tough old lady. And she doesn't even look old. Like, you wouldn't realize mom's pushing 80. I forget. And then I'm like, Mom, you're over. I caught her the other day. She was really overdoing it because we have some very, very, very cold weather coming, and we're going to be like minus 16 degrees. And she can't work outside in that. And that makes her sad. But it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I hear the vacuum cleaner from my room, and I go out and I go down, and I'm like, what are you doing? You have worked all day. And she's flushed, and I can tell she hurts because her back hurts. She's got arthritis. And I just gently soothed her, forehead. I went, Mom, it's to be here tomorrow. Stop. Because she just gets in that perpetual motion. She's the ADHDer. Dad's the autistic. Mom's the ADHDer. I'm the product of both. I got the blend. And so she was just in that. And I'm like, whoa, you're hurting yourself. And yeah, it's not okay to be parentified when we're kids, but it kind of changes when we get older and mom and dad get older.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of, hey, I don't know if you've seen this, but in the people who are kind of sandwiched between raising kids and dealing with elderly parents and or just dealing with their elderly parents, fifth house transits. Because it's how you're spending your energy. It's not just, it's children. It's who you're taking care. It's how you're spending your energy. And if you're taking care of people, you're expending. I don't know. Have you seen that?
I've lived it because
lived it. There you go.
My dad got sick in 2017, and my mom, who tended to stick her head in the sand when things are really emotionally too hard to look at. And so I just had a feeling, as one does, and I called and I was like, how is everything's good. You don't have to I was like, I feel like maybe I just run down there. And cause I was in New York and they were in Florida, and like, maybe I just run. No, don't come. Okay. I won't. Click. Southwest. Hello. And I was there within, and as soon as I got there, I thought, yeah, Daddy needs to be in the hospital. Sadly, he did not. So I did his hospice in the hospital. And then that was 2017, February 2017. He had a beautiful passing. I made sure he did. I held his hand. We played the leader of the band. So I had such love, and I'm just so lucky to have been his daughter that if I don't get sad, it's not out of distance or coldness for my father. It was actually just, I regarded it as
I don't think, I can't imagine anything better than a beautiful passing.
I say all the time, some people think I'm weird, and some people won't understand. The 5 most beautiful experiences I've had is bringing my children in and helping my parents cross out. And so, and then my mom passed in July of 2021, and I did her. I moved in with her because she had dementia and everything, and she could not. And so, and then I did her hospice. And I mean, I really did her hospice. The nurses were there like 3 times the whole time, because she didn't do well with strangers in and out. It triggered her. And my fear was that she would ever go so far deep into the dementia that she wouldn't know who I was. And that would be terrifying for her. So I did, but that was all while Pluto was transiting. It was right as my dad happened, right as it went into the 5th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it depends on how you approach things. That's why mindset is really,
Mindset is everything.
it
Yeah.
truly is.
It's
Yeah.
there's glass half full, glass half empty, and then what glass,
Yeah.
And um
Just said that
but
tonight in my
yeah.
live. Just said that tonight, exactly verbatim.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm not surprised. There's a
Yeah.
reason I asked you. I was like, hey, there's more people than I can read for. Um, can you come in? Can you help? And then, Damien and Shelby are going to do natal chart readings. And I
Hmm.
promise I haven't forgotten you guys. I was like, I sent them a message. I was like, can we just get through this week? It just, there's so much going on. Oh, thank you, Shauna. Everyone go ahead and like and share. This is exciting. Oh, thank you. You're coming
Shauna
in from
is one of
YouTube. That's
my
awesome.
she is one of my loves from our community,
Oh,
and she's become a real life love.
I love that.
Yeah. Another
I
Libra
love
moon.
that.
Remember I told you my milkshake brings all the Libra moons to the
Oh, yep, it
y'all.
does. There
My
we
Jupiter.
go.
One of my best friends from high school too. 26 degrees Libra moon. Like boom, right
There
on
you
that
go.
Jupiter. Yeah.
Oh, one of the things I realized, I was like, why am I back to not sleeping? I'm back to that weird, I get 2 hours of sleep and I'm up. And it's deep sleep. It's rested. And then boom, up.
Same.
Mars. Mars is starting to square my moon.
Oh. It's starting, yeah,
Mhm.
it's going to just kiss there's one, it's because when it stations, it'll be like 17 and I think 0 degrees. So it's almost at that 16 degree. And I'm a 16
Yeah.
degree Cancer Mars. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out
Oh, very
on
interesting.
my
Yeah.
energy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been,
It's squaring my
you've
moon.
got,
Yeah. It's doing a whole bunch of stuff.
oh, see, Kirsten says, I just checked and I've got fifth house transits and I've been caring for my 77-year-old father. There you go. Hmm. Yep. Yeah, because the fifth house, that bucket, the way they describe it, children, your hobby, blah, 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 it never sat with me right until I really sat there. I'm like, okay, the sun naturally rules that house, right? Leo is naturally at home in that house. What is the sun? It's our energy levels. It's our life force. It's where we're giving and depleting or receiving. Because when we're caring for small, like people wonder, like, oh, I used to be so creative and then I had kids. Well, all of your creative energy is going into keeping those little suckers alive because we know what an 18-month can do when they figure out how to climb.
Mhm.
It's how many heart attacks can you have in one
For a
day of,
nine
oh my
month
God,
old.
how'd you get up there? Huh?
Yeah.
9-month old. Yeah.
Oh,
Sarah
my
was rocking
daughter
at 9. Yeah. Yeah. I had one of those.
vaulting out of the
Yusuf
crib.
was,
Yeah, we had to put her in a
that was
toddler
Yusuf.
bed at 9.5 months old for her safety, as per like insane. Yeah, it's. I know you all want them
Yep.
to be super smart and do everything in advance. No, you don't. If you haven't
No, you
had
don't.
kids yet and you're wishing for like this little super genius, no, no.
No. No, Sarah walked young, like really young, like took her
Hmm.
first step at 7 months, was playing soccer with her cousins on her first birthday. Yusuf was a ninja and could run silently, like naturally. So, like when I put him into Taekwondo as a 7-year-old, because he had to be able to sit still and listen before he has 5 planets in Gemini, right? When you can sit still for 5 minutes and listen and pay attention, you get to take because at 3 he wanted to be a karate man. He saw his first Jackie Chan movie and he turned around, the biggest eyes. I want to be a karate man. And I was like, okay, when you can sit down, like you can be a karate man, but you got to be able to sit still and listen to the teacher because I don't want you to get in trouble. You don't have to sit still for very long, just long enough. So when he got to that stage, 7, that class, they happened to be learning to run silently. And Doris, who was number 1 in the world for form, little tiny bird-like lady, amazing instructor and so good. I fell in love with her because she didn't ever yell at the kids. She'd be like, we're standing in line now. And she would wait and let the kids police each other to get them, as long as they weren't mean. There were rules. But anyway, so that day they were teaching silent running and she turned to me and she goes, oh, Mom, has he always been able to do this? And I went, mm-hmm. And she went, oh, Mama. Like, oh, I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. Can we put bells on him?
What his year from 2 to 3 was like for you, right? Like climbing everything. Yeah.
Climbing, having to shut down a store.
Emily's a Gemini rising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I came home from work one day, and my husband at the time was supposed to be in charge of her. And I'm going, where's Emily? It was at my parents' house. Where's Emily? Where's Emily? Can't find her. Go. They're all on the side of the house. I go to the backyard just in case, God forbid, she is halfway up of the ladder, past the second story, and she was less than 2. And I thought, first I'm going to get this child down, then I am going to murder the people that did not think that, because we used to call her Emily Knievel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. My ex played hide and no seek with a 3-year-old. Hide and no seek. I'm like, where's my son? I come home from grocery. Where's Yusuf? He was in a cupboard. It took a while to find him because he'd fallen asleep.
I used to do that. I used to play hide and go seek and then fall asleep. And then if my mom was at work, my dad, they would all panic and call my mom. And she's like, she's in the house. Why are you calling me? She's got to be in the house someplace. Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. But yeah, so Sag risings are also quite. Oh yeah, because it's the Gemini Sag axis. They're jokers. They're trickers, and they're adventurous. They're curious. What does this do? What is here? What's over the hill? So, but yeah, thank you for being here, guys. Let's recap just a little bit.
I see a bunch of my community loves here. Yeah, it's funny because Shauna is saying that they keep teasing me I need a Lori button so that I can just press the Lori button every time.
Oh, I love that. Well, now I'll have content to pare down into clips too for YouTube and for podcasts too.
I just know you're going to use the OnlyFans clip.
I might. I mean, I edited the one where Matilda was waving her credit card around. That's
so funny. We could do a fun live about though, what some spicy placements might be.
I'm going to be doing I'm actually doing a patron kink class next month.
Oh, that's
by
interesting.
Request. Astrology and kink, which but we could do spicy connections.
Yeah. I always lovingly called Virgo my closet freaks, and
big time.
Yeah, and
people are totally losing out with not.
Yeah.
My boyfriend has a Virgo Mars.
Think about the detail and service, and those being blended together. Don't sleep on the Virgos, people. And they're usually like the kind that clutch their pearls in a conversation about sex publicly. Get them behind have a good relationship and get them behind a closed door. You're, not so shabby for the people with the Virgo placements. Yeah.
I wrote really naughty stories to seduce this person. And Venus in Gemini, square Pluto and Virgo. And the first time we met, for carnal reasons, and I wasn't supposed to catch feels, okay, but I did anyway. That's my Libra moon. My Libra moon does not like to catch feels.
Cancer sun and Libra moon. Yeah.
Anyway, somebody read those stories thoroughly.
Yeah,
just saying. It was like a script, and I didn't do it for that, but I was like, oh my God. Wow. Hubba. Yes.
So it's so funny. You're talking about your Libra moon, and then I'm thinking your Cancer sun, and all I can see is Jim Carrey beating the shit out of himself in Liar, Liar. Like the two placements. If you know, that scene where he beats the shit out of himself in the bathroom. Yes, I have a couple of those in my chart too. It's very interesting. But yeah, and the other thing I say about Capricorn is I don't care how all business and when those people let loose, whoop.
Wild thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's some funky Cole Medina.
Yep. They will. Yeah. Capricorn knows when they are ready to have fun and let the other part of them go so that they can, right? Because with the Venus and the Mars, you got to feed your Mars with your Venus, right? So like to go, like the Capricorn does, they got to feed that Venus. And when they do, hide your kids, hide your wives, put your hands over your ears.
Yeah. Yep. See, this is where the Patreon kink class is going to be fun. Yes. Mostly because I touched on it on my love, sex and astrology class from like 2021, I think. It might have been 2022. I don't know. It's a patron perk. But people were like, so can you see kinks? I'm like, oh, yeah. So when you look at my chart, I'm like, well, I can. But honestly, if that's not what the reading's about, I'm not looking there. I don't go, oh, wow, this person's a freak. Yeah. How much cosplay do they have in their closet, you know?
Yeah. I will have to sit in on your kink class. But
you'll enjoy it.
Oh,
we're going to even talk about balloon kink.
There's so many kinds, though. It depends on
there's a lot of kinds.
The reference. Right.
Well, the one that got me, because I was going to, like after my divorce, and I had clients, don't get me wrong, but as you know, when you're stressed out and your life has changed, it's hard to build a business, right? Because your cortisol's high. And I just was like, how much do I actually want to do? You know, I was kind of going back and forth. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to write smut. I know I'm good at writing smut, and I'm tired of smut not having a good plot. I'm going to do the world a favor and write smut. But I realized the world had changed, and rambling was no longer shocking. The Beauty and the Beast stories from the 90s. And so I started researching kink. Like if somebody ever looked at my search history, they'd be like, okay, she's a writer. Because it's just all over the place.
Writer would be their first instinct after they looked at your search on your Google. Sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'd have to, because they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? And so I dove into the kink communities. And I mean, I went into the kink communities, and I like made usernames, went on to forums, and I'm like, my Scorpio rising's like, this is interesting. That's intriguing. Oh my God, that exists. Oh, close your legs, moving on. And then I found out about this particular balloon kink. And I have never laughed so hard in my life. And I know we're not supposed to kink shame, but come on. If your kink is popping, is popping fucking balloons that somebody has attached to their bodies, I'm going to laugh, okay? Because I'm going to wonder if I invited you to a party and they were making little balloon wiener dogs, how turned on would you be?
Yeah, I mean,
and I couldn't get that.
I don't think we're shaming it. I enjoy Will Ferrell, but so like when I laugh at him, that's not shaming him. I'm just enjoying.
No, exactly.
Right, we're not shaming it.
But that would be like the antithesis. The popping sound from me, I would just be like, this is not happening. You have now ruined the mood.
Yeah,
but it was. But yeah,
you have to find somebody. You know, I'm very private. If there's any kind of textual relations going on, I'm very, very private. That's always going to be between me and one person. Could I write it publicly? Yes. Is that in me? Nope. But it's going to be very intelligent. It's probably going to have SAT words because where everything synthesizes. So I totally get it. Yeah, it's very, very interesting, everyone. You'd be surprised. And it's fun information. So when you're asking somebody for their sign, make sure you're asking their Mercury and their Mars.
Yeah. Oh my God, we have to put that in.
Yeah, imagine having a baby shower with all those balloons.
Cheyenne.
There'd be more baby showers to come then, right? Because they would just be cyclical. That's actually Lori and I don't know if she knows this. The first video I ever saw her, there was this man who liked to do, if you know Rapunzel, the smolder. he liked to do the smolder and put his hair in a man bun and say ridiculously wrong things about astrology and somehow get a million hits on everything, right? And so he said something about the lover and the Venus sign.
Oh God,
Before
yeah.
I responded to his video, and then I'm scrolling, and here's this wonderful woman who's going, tell me you don't know anything about astrology without telling me. And it's Mars, right? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I say this. Venus is how you get them to the stadium. Mars is how you play the bases and how you slide into home. And that was like, I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. Yeah. That was
I remember that.
the whole discussion of Mars.
The only reason he got millions of hits was because he was a little hottie guy. Yeah, it was it. He was just Mr. Thirst Trap. Nobody was listening to the astrology. In fact, it was funny because a lot of people were like, "We don't watch him for the astrology."
Yeah,
you know. I was like, okay, all
right.
As long as
like, I don't really need to know that chop wood. Chop wood is not a hobby, but if Thorin is on, somehow,
I'm there.
Somehow,
I'm there.
Yeah.
Critiquing his form, even
a liberal hot lumberjack. Where do I sign?
Oh, Sabrina just literally followed him on YouTube. Like, I ain't losing you, babe. Right.
Yeah, I agree, Marie. He is a nice way to pass a couple of minutes. He just did a video. He did 2 videos, Absolutely. And one was wholesome and one was not so wholesome. He's like, whichever one you get, those are your issues to deal with. It was funny.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And that, I think TikTok will probably be back. I found it interesting. These were one of my thoughts. I know I go from irreverent to super serious, but a thought popped into my head. The original date of being January 19th, I think that is to cease communication amongst people while things are going on. And I think there may be some things that happen this week that may prompt people to be very agitated, Mm-hmm. I know it is. Thorin is leading the TikTok revolution.
He is. He really He's been very instrumental and helpful.
But so there may be stuff that happens this week that is distracting. That's why I came on and said, hey, use the energy. Don't let it use you. Use the energy and get as connected. Watch flower arranging videos or listen to very calm music
and he was the one who said, also be careful over there. You will not get away with the code violation. You will not be able to debate that in Mandarin unless you're fluent writing and speaking, then go on with your bad self. But they're probably going to be a little tighter on the community guidelines over there,
which I kind of appreciate. Now I'm changing my content that I do make over there will be much more philosophy based, which astrology is philosophy. So it'll be less about the actual astrology and more about how to work with the thematic energy. Right. And somebody asked like way back, I think like probably 30 minutes ago, is how do you not talk astrology to people who are not into astrology? Really easy. Same way I don't talk politics with people who I don't agree with.
And sometimes we're speaking astrology, but in layman's terms, because we're thinking about we just had this conversation also, or one of our late night chats where I said somebody came to me and they were on a precipice of like maybe an awareness, and so I spoke to them in the context that I knew they would understand, and then they said to me, "I'm really surprised you didn't throw a whole lot of like moon here and my my Capricorn there," and I said, I did. I just didn't use astrological terms.
Right. Yeah, I know. I used to get that in comments or like in the readings from my podcast. Where's the astrology? The whole damn thing's about the topic. I'm like, most people don't understand astrology, even if they think they do. Right? It's like, oh, this is square this. But notice how many people go, oh! Where when somebody who understands it, we go, oh, that could be really creative. That could be, I could see how you'll start talking about, oh, I could see this working this way. So don't let your secrets out. Gonna. You're buying too many crystals. Oh.
Also, I think that when you're watching a live stream, you want to make sure you take your little finger or your mouse and bring the ball all the way to that would be your right. So because you might be on a delay. I have a feeling that comment is about our conversation.
Oh.
Yeah, I find that a lot when people are in the TikTok chat and I'm like, huh? In the YouTube chat and I'm like, because it's from 5 minutes before. Yeah.
Right. So Musk bought Twitter because Twitter was an organizing space. Musk got a lot of money from Saudi to buy TikTok.
Say, he was a dive bomber. That was a kamikaze.
Yeah, he bought it to destroy it. I actually have a TikTok video about it. I did it at the time. I was like, he bought it to tank it. And the amount of people like, how do you know? I'm like, the Saudis funded him. That's public knowledge. We know the Saudis gave him multiple billions of dollars for that. They jail people for a single tweet. Okay. Governments are governments. And so that was tanking this, they're trying to get rid of organizing spaces. There's always a way to do things. But
yeah, it's inside.
They moved inside because of the weather. I'm not convinced people will be able to get to it.
Yeah, I have my thoughts I'm keeping to myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I've discussed it with Lori, but I'm keeping the rest of it to myself.
Yeah, I still expect unprecedented things to occur as we go forward.
Yeah.
So,
which also like
just be. I love that, Sarah. Sorry, Sarah was just saying some reason earlier tonight I felt called to just sit in meditation and just be, and it was the right move. Absolutely. With Venus conjunct Saturn, that's exactly it. You're tuned in.
Beautiful.
You're listening to yourself. Exactly. I would put my focus for next week on stuff that you want to create and things you want to make and to breathe and to connect with yourself, because the wider stuff, even it impacts us. But you can ask most people if you've ever lived in an area that had a lot of civil unrest or a war zone, you still have to do life. You will always have bills to pay. The world doesn't stop for it.
Yeah, and your brain really has a very strong conversation with your nervous system. So if you're hyper focused on that, you could end up not wanting to, not intentionally, but dysregulating your parasympathetic. And so what I would say, the way to metaphysically hit you, everybody has a spirit team here, right? And your higher self, we know, is the HBIC. And so I would ask my guides, if I cannot do anything about it, then please don't let it, affect my nervous system, affect my energy, or get in the way of my productivity. And just every time you're feeling a little anxious around what's going on in, environmentally, externally, that you can do nothing about, that you can ask your guides to be in cahoots with you to bring your energy and your consciousness back to yourself in what you can put energy into, what you do have control over. But you can ask your guides for help with that if that's a struggle. And for a lot of people it is, understandably. Holding your breath, I would instead try a 5-5-7 breath. Yeah.
Shauna just asked a question. Am I familiar with forensic astrology? I'm sure you have. It's mundane astrology. It's not really called forensic astrology. People online make up all kinds of names for things. If they're doing something and looking up, you have to be very careful about making claims, is what I'm going to say. But it's mundane astrology is what it is. So it's important to recognize the difference between our intuition and where the actual mundane astrology is. So, but it doesn't mean we can't use it. I'm highly intuitive, and funny, busting my own bullshit. Okay. Years ago, I had a very, very famous person and they are a client, very famous person who happens to be very, very much known for their metaphysical work, come to me, which is always an honor. And I used to say I do the astrology because my teacher would be like, look, psychic girl, do the astrology. Stop intuiting the chart. Do the astrology. And so I pride myself on doing the astrology. And then that person when they go to other metaphysicians, puts up very, very strong walls and barriers. I will never try to push past. I can bust down the best of barriers. I will not. It's unethical. But I didn't realize how much my little tendrils go. I had the worst headache after that reading. And so we are always intuiting, but your intuition will be better informed through study. So it doesn't mean that somebody who's highly intuitive isn't a good astrologer if they have a good background in astrology. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And don't apologize, Shauna. But no, I think that super psychic people are often attracted to like the event astrology or deconstructing a crime scene because, you know, and I have known Shauna to be like accurate and saying, I think the box is here, and then 3 days later, but she's also extremely gifted psychically.
Yeah. And see, from a psychic level, I can tune into things like that. I wouldn't ever do it for a living. I don't like doing it. It's uncomfortable. But a couple years ago, somebody that was kind of working with me had a colleague be unalived, and they had a child that had been taken from the scene, and they were like, oh my God, I've known this kid since they were little. And then I tuned in, I went, they're not dead, and they'll find them like in a shopping center somewhere. She's okay. She's traumatized, but she's alive and she's unharmed physically. And that's exactly what they found. They found her alive in a shopping center. But I wouldn't do it every time, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah, and that's always, like, some people have the propensity to sit in those dark spaces and help find there are psychics that help find missing people and and I'm happy to sit in the mental and physical and metaphysical space afterwards.
Same.
People so like to do that afterwards, so everybody's
I like to help people thrive and move out of the survivor mode and recognize that and give the healing pathway the next kick in the pants.
As long as it's being helpful and not exploitive of the event.
Exactly.
That there's somebody suffering here, Shauna doesn't have it in her to be exploited.
Right. Well, I know you wouldn't be friends with somebody that way. Right. You wouldn't be friends that way. But I think, to me, that was like, TikTok on one hand was great, and I've met beautiful people I don't think I would have met otherwise, you know. But there was also, it displayed some things, that displayed some things that disturb me in the world in general, and one of those is the voyeurism of other people's, you know, tragedy. And you know, I just don't think the public is always entitled to know the ins and outs of anyone's life.
That's ethics.
It's easy to judge. Yeah, it's easy to judge, but if you're not in their shoes, you're not living their life. People would be quick to blame. I'm always like, if people think like, how many people are up on murder charges because everybody like, well, they had to do it. You know, I'm like, well, you don't know that. Yeah. Until there's an investigation. Even if you're psychic, you have a good feeling and be like, something's up.
Right.
But you don't know what's up until there's actual facts in front of you. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And when Matthew Perry died, that hit me hard. I have loved Matthew Perry since he played Sandy on Growing Pains. It was before Friends. I love him. And also because I'm trauma informed and I have a special relationship. My dad was an alcoholic. Like I went out of my way to understand addiction and all that. And I always kind of just felt for him. So I was really crushed by that, but I remember saying to my daughter in the house, I don't think he passed completely of natural. I didn't it didn't feel right. Yeah. I did not get online while his family is grieving, while people are grieving, while other people maybe in recovery are worried, like, you know, and he was also like, he created spaces for people in recovery. He was more than just Chandler, right? Like I would never unethically get online, but then I saw some lady going like, oh, let's check in on Matthew. not even 24 hours. Not even, and I just thought,
Right.
well, that's not how that works. I'm not even a medium, and I know that's not how that works. And it's beyond unethical. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of stuff. And on the other hand, when it comes to, I think a lot of the people who got on without ethics, without study, whatever, they'd also not been seen in their own lives. And this was the first time for a lot of people to be heard and seen.
Yeah.
And people be like, it gets to your head. Sure, it does. If you've been ignored your whole life, or you're a wife, a mom, a daughter, a sister, and you don't even get your name used, suddenly to have 100,000 people show up and be like, oh, wow, you're cool, is going to be like heady stuff. You know, it can be overwhelming. It can be scary. I know when I first grew, because I never expected people to listen to me. I'd been warning people for decades about 2020 coming, and I got called a lot of names. So that's why the trolls don't bother me. I'm like, I've been trolled my whole life. But to have people see you and value what you have to say, I can't blame people for getting kind of drunk on that energy, you know, the ones, and they may not have had the advantage of taking classes or studying with world-class teachers, or, you know, and they may not have had that privilege. Yeah.
That's why ethics is maybe should be more of a conversation online, not to shame anybody and not to be like this one, not to call out this one's ethical and this one's unethical.
Right, exactly.
I do like to talk about like red flags, especially when people are vulnerable. Like, hey, if somebody's telling you have to claim a reading, red flag. You know, if somebody's doing this the second you open the like and not asking for your consent, red flag.
Red flag.
Right? So like there's stuff like that. But you know, ethics, part of ethics is understanding what your intention is and like how are you registering the feedback, and if it's right, because ego doesn't mean you're egotistical or you're a bad person. It just, we all have ego, and as you
ego is the will to survive.
Right.
That is what ego actually means, as you know, which you know well, is a psychological term. It is our will to survive. Egotistical and you have to remember you've got social norms as well.
Right.
And so like people didn't like my opinionated self, you know.
Oh well, that's a them problem. That's what I always say. People who know me really well, they're like, that sounds like a them problem, comes out of my mouth quite.
Right. Notice how much it hurts.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? No, I'm just French.
This is two 50-something-year-old cancer broads that have really deconstructed all of that. Is it me? Is it my fault? Am I the villain? We're at the
but I'm Oh, you want me to be the villain? I'll show you villain. You know, that's where we're at.
Yeah. But somebody had a question. They were saying about the when I said, like, you know, ask your guides to give you, and they were saying, you can write things down. One of the things that I often do is either in a client session or in a community space, telling people, you know, when you're rewiring your brain, right? When we're resetting, maybe you say FML all the time. Maybe you say, of course, if that's going to happen, it's going to happen to me, right? And we want to, like, you know, what we talk about, we give attention to. And one of the things that I will say is set an alarm on your phone, not for when you wake up, but in the middle of the day when you'll see it, when it won't be, and say things like, I'm enough, or this doesn't have to take my energy. So, you know, over time, when you read it aloud to yourself, one of mine is like, I always have more money than I could ever use or want. And finding me, and I have that set as an alarm. But my alarms have changed over the years, depending on what I'm healing at the time. So I love using the phone, and I set an alarm, and just the label on the alarm is whatever the affirmation is. But it's not so much like a woo-woo meta. It's actually quantum physics. It's you know, it is rewiring.
You're repolling, because rewiring the brain.
Yeah, what I always say: watch what you say, because you're listening. You know, like, we believe what we tell ourselves. So if we start to tell ourselves,
yeah, your mind does what you tell it to. That's neuroscience,
Yes,
100%.
absolutely.
And
And I'm a nerd enough to like want to dive in
yep,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And that's why if you're, I can't just rephrase the question, just rephrase your response. You rephrase it right then,
Mhm.
instead of but, make it an and. It's very, 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 it's actually way more simple. It just requires reiteration. So, but yeah, so hang on. Ooh, I love that. Oh, yeah. What's the best that could happen? Exactly.
Right.
What if it doesn't work? What if it does?
I just had the conversation about knocking on
Mm-hmm.
wood kind of implies to
Mm-hmm.
universe, because universe is also listening, right? Higher self is listening, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. There's NASA, physicist studies on this
Mm-hmm.
about, a law of attraction or whatever else, or mindset
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rewiring,
Right.
that if you're knocking on wood, it's almost sending out, it's first of all, physically in your nervous system, in your brain, the body keeps score, and also universally and, attraction wise, sending out the signal that you think you have to protect yourself from the thing that you're
Mm-hmm.
knocking wood
Mm-hmm.
about. And so just kind of rewiring
Mm-hmm.
your,
There's a saying that I used to keep on my desk for years. A friend gave it to me, the sign, and it said, if at first you do succeed, try not to look astonished.
I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite things. And also not putting like this month I was talking about being present, not putting attachment on outcomes. This was, because people are like, oh my God, if this happens, my world is over. If this happens, my world is made. And life
Mhm.
doesn't work that way. Your life does not end because you've had the worst thing you can imagine happen to you, unless it kills you. It kills you, you're done for.
Right.
But if it doesn't,
Another place anyway.
life still
Right.
continues, and so you get to determine how that goes. And it's okay to have a pity party, it's okay to have depression, it's okay to hurt like hell and move through that time. But if you stay there, you're not just, you're really not surviving, and you're existing. And ask me how. Been there, done it.
Yeah.
That's how we know these
And, and
things.
and it's important to feel all the feelings. We don't want
Hmm.
you to
Hmm.
compartmentalize. We don't want you to shove it
No.
down. But sitting in it
Mm-mm.
any longer than you need to examine and extract the
Hmm.
whys and the hows, so you don't repeat cycles,
Hmm.
is usually not productive
It's
to your
it's
serotonin
re-tra-
flow. To your
yeah, it's re-traumatizing yourself. You're
yeah,
basically becoming an agent of your own oppression.
yeah.
And so I don't know about you, but I've thought for years, because again, I understand what people ahead of us meant when they talked about mindset, law of attraction. I knew they weren't victim blaming, but they lacked a language and the skill to
Yes.
communicate, I think, in a lot of cases. Some were victim blaming because, boomers. But that's one of the reasons I like hanging out with you and working with you, is because you have that attention to the language so that people can hear it. It's not a victim
Words
thing.
are so important.
They matter.
They
They matter.
words, in my most humble opinion, are our most inexhaustible source of magic. Albus Dumbledore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
and so my job is not to sit here and go, look what I've learned, look what I healed. I am so much better than you. Don't you wish you could be like me?
Mm-hmm,
Sign up for
mm-mm.
$1,000 a minute. My job is to give you tools so that you do the work yourself, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's the teach
Frameworks.
man to fish
Mm-hmm.
theory,
Yep.
because you talked about your life going before you. I have been a deeply wounded person who made decisions out
Mm-hmm.
of the lack, right? And I have Uranus in my first. So like, if a movie goes before my eyes at the end of my life, it's going to look a lot like Jackass, because I trip and I fall and I don't do things perfect, and I love the
Mm-hmm.
character and the bumps and the bruises and the crevices
Yeah.
that all the good stuff gets to sit in, that all that built. But I mean, it's about the tools, and the tools are available to us. But the more we do the work ourselves, the more, like, I always say my platform is based off of fuck shame and fuck politeness when it doesn't keep us safe. Um,
Absolutely.
but if I give you the tool and you do
Mm-hmm.
that work yourself, you're not going to be dependent on me. I mean, you need a good astrologer to read transits and solar returns. I'm not worried about.
You do, even
Right.
if you read your own, okay.
Which I don't.
So that's just people,
Right.
yeah, people often, and they, I think sometimes people think I'm gatekeeping, but I'm dripping content out to help people explore and learn. You don't learn it all at the same time. Nobody learns astrology. That's not how astrology is actually
Right.
taught.
Right.
It's taught reiteratively. It builds upon itself because it's a knowledge base that is built in many, like it's baklava, okay? It's a lot of crunchy layers with some, honey and flavors.
Yeah, we don't
So
have to gatekeep out of job protection. Like Lori, of course, is just, she's got her 30 years and she's fucking Lori. But even like, for me, I feel like I don't have to gatekeep correct information or not give you tools for my own job security. The point is that we want to give people tools, right? Because you still can't do what we're doing in a consultation, right? When we're
right. And so when people tell me they've when people tell me they've self-studied for a long time, I'm still going to be like, what were your resources? What were you learning off of? What were you actually learning?
Right, because the resource smolder guy on TikTok, it's not so great.
Yeah, and before TikTok, I used to call it Tumblr astrology. And Reddit is hit and miss. Reddit's hit and miss, and so it's learning. So like even professional astrologers, this is my 30th year. In August, it will be 30 years. Crazy. Saturn was in Pisces, and Saturn conjuncted my North Node, and astrology came at me. Yeah. Which I'm sure my teacher thought of. Yeah, it doesn't. No, and you know what? I never thought about it until I was reading a client's chart, and they just happened to be born right around that time, and I went, "Oh shit, there it is." Okay, we cannot be unbiased. I don't get book racks anymore. I used to. My stuff, my ebooks, my stuff. And the reason I say that is I used to get book racks, and a lot of the material that I recommend, the language is very, very faulty and flawed for the world we live in today.
And antiquated and very patriarchal and very...
Yeah. And so I would get people coming back with, I read that book and oh my God, they're mean. So my stuff, because I've been progressing the language. So I'm a progressive evolutionary astrologer. And that means I'm depatriarchyifying the interpretations. And I specialized in interpretation itself. So how to broaden our understanding and understand that even if you're deconstructing, there's still cultural, like there's times we use traditional interpretation and there's times we progress it. A lot of it's based on conscious expression and knowing the difference. So
Lori and I have the conversation where you can't see gender in the chart.
No.
Right? But we might know from like the time, right? The period that somebody was born. And if they give us the information, whether they were male or female, we will know the social constructs, the environmental, everything that might have contributed to how, say, like a Leo Mars would express different, might express differently. But that's with information, and that's about the environment and the time, like something, where you would not give the same interpretations for somebody born in the 1600s than you would for now, because things are incredibly different.
Yeah, but you can still see if somebody was like a trailblazer, like Teresa Avila's chart is kind of
right, but their full moon they're not gonna get a new job back. Right.
No, it's going to be read very, very differently. Yeah, exactly. But you can see sexuality or sexual preference.
Okay.
You'll know if they're, even if you don't know the gender, be like, this person was not
open. Right.
Yeah, they're open-minded, or they don't want to be tied down in the same way. They might be very loyal, but maybe they're not into government pieces of paper,
Right.
Or you can tell that, but where was I even going? Oh, but anyway, with transits, especially, you don't have, you are either going to, and I have a great example. So like sometimes and we know that like when astrologers are friends, they have each other's charts and they keep an eye on, and people get random texts, whether they're astrologers or not. But it's more fun when we're astrologers in some ways because we can shorthand it. And I was looking at Matilda's lunar return, which was actually last night. And funny enough, we were talking about it last night as it returned. And our predictions parallel, right? They parallel. That's why people put us together. We were using even very, very similar language. Some of that is because we studied similar things. We have similar background training. So anyway, her lunar return is like right before mine. Mine's on the 20th, guys. My lunar return is on the 20th of January because it fucking figures, right? Hers is the second house. Ching ching goes the money tree. Everything I want, it comes to me.
Yeah.
Mine's in the 4th. And I'm like, why am I in the basement? Why am I in the basement? That was my first thought was, wait, why am I in the basement? TikTok goes dark. It's not my prediction is wrong. TikTok goes dark. I can't crow because I actually have other cool stuff growing. I'm growing, but it's almost like, I was right. By the way, Matilda's going to put up my posts on her TikTok.
Because she can, like, for anybody who's not getting why Matilda can and Lori can't is because she doesn't live in America and it's not where she lives.
Yeah. She's in Australia. So, and she's not joining Red Note. People have asked, she won't. There's very, very particular reasons why she's not. And also she's not American.
Right.
Americans should be fighting for their rights and their stuff. That's our fight, so yeah. I actually, I am enjoying the recipes and stuff, but I'm not going to use it a whole lot. I don't have time. That's why my TikTok, it wasn't just the election. Again, I dare people go back while it still exists. Go count how many videos I made in 2024 compared to 2022 and 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 1,500 less. Because I wasn't great. TikTok throttled me. TikTok throttled me hard in 2022. That's why I focused on the podcast. Oh, well, hang on. Let me look. Because I got to look. Oh, wait, that's the wrong thing. Hang on. Look at the right thing. I'm very excited. When I look at my statistics for the podcast.
I was just going to say, I remember because Lori asked me, my God, we've been having the conversation about like rebranding and doing things because I described her once and she was like, I'm going to email you.
Right. Yeah. Oh, beautifully. Yeah. Nobody has seen all the bits.
Yeah. That's what I love to do. That's the Jupiter Mercury kind of, but I love to let somebody express through like, a graphic or branding. Like it's really nice when your personality like leaps off the page. But back, I want to say it was like the spring, maybe the summer. And I just kind of like redid her YouTube page and made a couple of little adjustments to like the auto settings and everything else. And looking at her YouTube now compared to then, it has like tripled.
Wow. Oh yeah, it's massive now.
Yeah.
And thank you. And by the way, I fixed your account because you're in my YouTube to help me sometimes.
Oh yeah.
YouTube's like the one platform I have never got my head around. But I fixed it because I had to go in because I put Sarah in because Sarah's going to start uploading shorts for me and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
And so. Yeah, so I was putting her in, and then I went, I fix you. I see what the problem was. So it had limited. Now it's not limited.
Okay.
That's what it was. But Susie made me pretty.
I mean, that's debatable. I don't really make the cake. I just change the color of the icing sometimes.
Oh, thank you. So...
Now I have great cosmic power, like the
great cosmic. You do cosmic power, itty bitty living space. And honestly, that's such a great description too.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find it. Hang on. It's up here. So I literally in 2023 we get about 675 to 700 listens a week on the podcast, which is exceptional. That's a really big deal. It puts you in the top 5% of podcasts. We are now averaging. I say we because it's patrons. It's because of patrons, and it's because of, friends sharing, and because of listeners like you.
Yeah, like we're PB, aren't we?
It is. I always say we're the NPR of astrology.
Yeah.
We have just on the last episode had 9,077 listens, and that's individual downloads.
That's amazing.
That's individual listens. That's not repeats. And so we have, and I was trying to load it. It doesn't show my breakdown on the app, and it's not liking the bandwidth usage right now. But let's see if it will do it. But last I checked, and every time I check, there's more. So last I checked, we have about 13,000 subscribers on Spotify. And those aren't paid subscriptions. Those are just people who hit the button like you do on YouTube. Like, oh, I want alerts, That's incredible. That's a lot. In fact, when I was upgrading for Riverside, they were kind of, and I'm used to this as a middle-aged woman, they'll be like, well, you probably don't have a very big audience. I'm like, I have a very sizable audience, and I'm in the charts. And I have and at that time I said, I have 11,000 subscribers just on Spotify. I'm not sure what it is on Apple. This is what my weekly listens are. And they were like, oh, I'm like, yeah. And I just filmed this background. Yeah, this is my room. And I don't pay for ads.
I love people who make assumptions. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you probably have a little audience. I'm like, and he was like, wow, that's really good. I'm like, I know. I know it's really good.
Would you like a napkin?
And it's because I have good people. But I do. I know it's good because I looked up the numbers and I did the research. And you know how we got to be this good? Community. I'll pay advertising. I don't push it.
Community is
community.
Everything. I think my daughter just joined. Speaking of community, she's on there.
Hello.
Yeah, we were talking about how you used to vault out of the crib and climb the house before you were 2.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because you're smart, though. I did preface it as because you were smart and ahead of yourself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Nikki is my Velcro fur baby. And he's been rubbing against my legs in a way. I'm like, do you want to just come up and be pet? Now he'll leave me alone for 10 minutes. He hangs out on all of my sessions. He curls up and hugs the computer. He's definitely a familiar.
Oh, yeah. I know that one. Mr. Malcolme. The naughty dude. He's asleep, though. It's past his bedtime. I was going to
say, where is he? Yeah. I love when I took classes with Lori, he would often just be kind of next to her co-piloting.
We are the little engine that could, Summer. Absolutely. And community is essential. Power is in community. And so what's going to happen the first 5 years of Pluto and Aquarius, they're going to do everything they can to wedge people. They're going to do everything they can to get people to other people. They're going to get everything they can to break people apart. Oh, you're this person or this person. And the most important thing you can do is see the humanity in everybody, including the people you don't like. Again, just like I learned in college, somebody could be an asshole, but it's because they were actually an asshole. It wasn't because of where they were from, what their culture was. It was just because they were, as I used to tell my son, just because you got one doesn't mean you need to be one.
Right. And I mean, and also I think discernment is so important. I mean, it would probably be great for us to do a little thing on red flags just so people have that instant before they get sucked into somebody. But also, we can understand that hurt people, as you were saying before, the people who need to be seen or whatever. But we also don't have to keep exchanging with people that feel taught. We can understand and have empathy and then not judge them and have space for them to do whatever they need to do, but also doesn't mean that we need to keep making excuses to the point where we keep exchanging, because then that it can be just a them problem until we make it an us problem.
Right. Yeah. Be present with yourself, Damien. Exactly. Yeah. And just be present with your needs. And sometimes we need to turn off. And sometimes that's why, like, my live streams, like, people a lot of times think I'm announcing important astrological. No, I'm bringing the panic down.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm doing. Alicia. That's my.
I had to resist. You made this really lovely video this morning about Pisces and Saturn, and go get in nature, and if you can't get in nature, look at pictures of gardens. And I knew I would get a violation, but because people have been so hard on you and calling, I just wanted to be like, God, what a bitch, right, in your comments, just because you're being the Lori that I know, which is lovely and giving, and I talk about that to the people in my real life. Like, she's so good for me on so many levels. It's not just a business thing, but like,
it's easy.
You're so giving.
It's easy.
You're so easy. Giving, and so I wanted to tease you and be like, God, what a bitch, because like, I would laugh. Lead on TikTok and give you all knowledge, and people are like, you made me sad. Okay. So, or like, you're so mean, you're so cocky. But I was nice.
I'm gonna make my last video on TikTok that goes out before it goes dark is gonna be, look, you stupid motherfuckers. I'm going to unload. I can't help if you didn't follow my instructions for 2 years. I can't help that you want to blame everybody else for your problems. I can't help that you don't listen with the ears God gave you to everything else I've said. And if I was your hope, suck on it.
I'm going to challenge you,
and that's going to be it.
The soundbite that's like, you stupid fucking bitch. And then it goes, drop the bass.
Oh, yeah.
Go, and then just keep putting the things like, this is what you could have been doing, instead of like putting it on me, right? I would chef's kiss.
I have no problem. No problem. No problem with it. No problem with it. Because people were so immature. And honestly, guess what? It wasn't young people. It was people our age and older. And I'm like, you are the fucking problem. Because when I was trying to activate people when I was in my teens, my 20s, my 30s, I have a life. I'm too busy. I can't do it. My husband says no. Well, thank you. Thank you, Melissa and Chrissy and all you people from the 80s and 90s who were too busy watching.
Grade roster.
Yeah. Thank you for not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And not fighting with us. Because you'd be like, well, you're fighting for us. And I'd be like, it's hard. I have arrows in my back.
Yeah. You're a parked car.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of the people our age and older, and people will be like, well, but they really didn't know. No, we were trying to educate people and they wouldn't listen. So it wasn't like, because when you look at our age, and this is where I get from, I know this is astrology, but it's not astrology. My astrology is showing. It was so hard. We fought for so long, and we warned people we would end up here. Everybody thinks Octavia Butler was a prophet. No, she wasn't. The writing was on the fucking wall in 1993, and we were screaming and silenced. We were screaming and silenced.
Yeah.
We were too radical. We were the problem. We weren't even being real leftists. We were like, this is common sense. So it's very frustrating, but I will unload. I'm going to. I have to, because I got so sick of those "you are our hope" video, comments. I'm like, I wasn't. I told you in live streams, don't put your hope in me. I'm not God, and I don't think I'm wrong.
Or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope.
I am. Yeah.
No.
I am not. I do have Jedi powers, but I'm not Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. I'm not that.
Go.
Yeah. I'm not.
No.
I still, I am comfortable with my level of like, do no harm, take no shit. Right. And anybody who's, I have quite a few in the chat, which makes me warms the cockles of my heart. I have a few here in the chat who have had readings with me, or multiple readings, or I've worked through stuff with them. I will be as not, I have zero judgment zone, like, and I can be kind and warm and I can hold space with you and also not take abuse from people. Like, those can both exist. It is a Venn diagram. And with my Cancer Mars, God forbid you come after Lori or anyone I know. I went off on the phone today.
She mama bears so hard. It's great.
Yeah. But like, I went off on a friend and I was like, and another thing, if I lived close, nobody would even mess with you because they would be like, no, we have to go through Susie now. Like, that Cancer Mars is no joke, which is why it's funny. Don't listen to the dignities and people telling you like Cancer Mars can't.
Essential dignities are bullshit. It's based on patriarchy.
Yeah. Go piss off a Cancer Mars and then you come back and let me know how that went for you, because they're so soft and won't get angry.
What about Pisces Mars, man?
Oh, no, not doing that.
Libra Mars. I raised a Libra Mars. Granted, she's got Jupiter conjunct her Mars and her moon. Guess who's the target? That's super fun. But I go crazy. Do not piss those Mars signs off at all. But yeah, and I warned people about this transit.
Yes, Rachel.
Mars and Cancer, retrograde. It's very this is going to get real. So
because that whatever perceived violence or action or anything is going to come from that protective place where it's like, it's not just me. This is not a single, like, this is me being protective.
It's bigger than self. Yeah, it's bigger than self.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because you could come to me in any situation and be like, I don't like you. You're stupid. You're fat. You're ugly. You're old. And you suck at everything. And I will be like, wow, that was a lot. That's good for you. Do you feel better now? Do you feel better? Get well soon. But if you say that to my best friend, my child, somebody I love, I won't. I won't finish that sentence. My New York, my Irish, and my Cancer Mars all come out at one time, and that's not going to go well.
Right? No. Yeah.
But you could say, I'll laugh it off. Yeah.
April says her Sag Mars just wants to run away, and the Scorpio Moon wants to internalize, and that can be an expression of it. I've got a Sag Mars, and that's my spicy into the thick of it, but I will go protect
Aries
the people
that
deserve it the most. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Aries Moon.
Damien says Aries Moon's got hands. Yeah. So as Damien well knows, I'm an Aries Moon, and then my Mars is in Cancer. And so if you do the rulership math, those are in mutual reception. And they are in a square because cardinal, but they are literally within degrees. They're very close in degree. So so that is it's very hard to find that button. It's very, if you find it,
lucky you. Yeah. Right. And I'm like that, April. I actually measure what I say. Like, people would think I was just popping off at trolls. No, I actually would redo those videos maybe 4 or 5 times. They were never spontaneous single takes. I was saying exactly what I wanted to say on purpose. And it was honestly to be an example to other women to stand up, not take shit from people, not let people silence you, not let people. So it's the fighting with teaching and Sag Mars, but to not allow yourself to be silenced, including from other women who say, well, don't waste your energy. It was never a waste of energy. It was never a waste of energy. I don't waste my energy. I don't have time to waste my energy. That be above it. I found one of the best ways to deal with a bully is to pop them in the face. So I don't like dealing with that. And I think too many people, no, I wasn't even raised in New York. I know, but I'm from the Northwest and we're lumberjacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to be raised in New York, but I'm just saying, like, if you press, it's a combination for me.
It is. No, but it's the French in me. Because when I go to Paris and I'm like, oh, they're like, you're not American. You're like French. And I'm like, oh, qu'est-ce que tu fais là?
Yeah, actually, I'll say you get my Irish up, but the truth is that Irish people as a culture in Ireland, not please, so don't come at me, or come at me if you do, and I will be happy to answer and have discourse with you, and it'll be lovely, and then we'll go have coffee and talk. But the Irish as a culture aren't really known for expressing themselves. They, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
We got tons of funny, but but not so shoving down is not. And I was always very different. I was the black sheep that said everything out loud. You're supposed to walk over drunk Uncle Harry. You're not supposed to say out loud that he's drunk on the floor and it's gross, right? You're just supposed to that's just what happens. That's just Uncle Harry. We don't have to talk about it,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I resonate with that.
Mars.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Aries Mars part.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. And no two
Plot and Poppy
cancers
20 years later.
Yeah.
No two people. Everybody is unique and individual, but we're both very protective moms, have gone above and beyond, and still created lives, and,
with opposition.
Sarah still with great amounts of opposition.
Yes,
Thanks, Pluto.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pluto.
Some of our parallels are almost uncanny.
Yeah, that's why I say it's easy when you're like, oh my God, I'm like, one, I've been where you've been, and two, you're easy. Aww. You're a beautiful person, so it's like
says so on the bathroom. Yes, the IHOP.
Lucky Devil Divination. Can you ask a question? Yes. Of course. You guys can always ask questions. We try it. We're scanning your comments while we're talking. I can tell she is. I am. Yeah. Because we're pros. That's what pros do.
Gemini Mercury. I love multitasking.
Yeah, we're waiting for the question.
Delay.
No pressure.
Well, while I say like Lori's very, she's very generous with her understanding, and also like I love when she was like, well, she'll pull me back from something if I'm going the wrong way with an idea over a placement, because my beginning foundations didn't always come from the best places, because in the beginning you just get information wherever you can, and then you start to realize
and you don't know what's what, so.
Right, but she'll be honest, and at the same time,
Hey, Lucky Devil Divination, you have Mars and Jupiter in the 6th house. I don't know what sign it's in, so that matters. But in general, Mars and Jupiter makes larger than life actions happen. Your 6th house is Taurus. You're a very, very hard worker, and you do not work for free. And if somebody insinuates, like, I'm assuming you're a card reader or an intuitive of some kind that does that for a living. And if somebody's like, you charge too much, you're like, you pay me what I'm worth. You know your value, the value of your work, and you probably you've always been able to find employment in some way. You may not have stayed at it, because if you're not appreciated, they're not conjunct then. Oh, well, same thing though. I mean, even though they're not conjunct, because they're not right next to each other. So it's just Mars and Jupiter. That's not a Mars-Jupiter conjunction. That's just Mars and Jupiter in Taurus in the 6th house. But you'd be lucky in employment, and you would know your value, and you work really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It would be stronger having them right next to each other. So, yeah. I know I give a lot of information away, but I understand my value.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is to counter really bad information out there.
That's what I was saying before. We're not afraid to give accurate information. Ash would we don't gatekeep the correct information, because it's still, it's the synthesis. It's not the same as what we can do in a consultation, in a session.
Yeah. You struggle with the sixth house thing. It confused me a lot. You're a jack of all trades. Everybody, I'm a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jack of all trades, master of none. Tis better than an expert in
That
one.
last part's debatable. I think there's what
Mhm.
99 plus people that would argue with that point in the room right now that you're not a master of none.
Well, being a polymath,
Yeah.
but you can have multi-passionate, you can be multi-passionate and you like to work and you like to get paid and so you can do a whole lot of things, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean being a specialist is a cultural concept that doesn't work for human beings. A master of fun, that's right.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
Your daughter is a Taurus. Yeah, she has a Scorpio moon, so you don't want her to end up with a mother wound. Too bad. Every kid has a mother wound because
Yeah.
no mother is perfect. You will do things that will cause your child to need therapy, whether you like it or not. And it's not even going to be intentional. It could be you are happy all the time and they will still have a mother wound. We cannot, there's a big difference between being an abuser and, like an intentional abuser or somebody who unintentionally like doesn't think about it, but just does gross, horrible things. And we are still, everybody comes here for a range of experiences. Now, that is not a pass for bad behavior, but you can be the most attentive, conscious parent. And like I was doing conscious parenting. Guess what? It wasn't always going to be what either they felt
Yeah.
they needed now or as it life stages, because teenagers and early 20s are supposed to butt against their parents, because if it was all great they
Feeling
wouldn't go out
out.
in the world
Yeah.
and trade. Yeah,
Right.
you've got to be mad at somebody to move on sometimes.
And you, as a
And
parent, you
yeah.
want that because you don't want your kids to roll over to every authority figure they find in life. You don't want them. You want
Absolutely.
them. You
Mm-hmm.
want them to have you're the testing ground to kind of push back when it doesn't feel right for them. Listen, I have two that were 2.5 years apart. And then 10 years later and 12 and a half years later, respectively, had a bonus, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
a very different mom with him because now I'm this trauma informed person that has
Right.
tools to give somebody with anxiety and I have life experience and I healed a lot of stuff, so it's not coming out of my parenting like it did before. We tend to do, my parents did this and I didn't like it, so I'm going to go complete opposite instead of finding balance, and that's not always good for the kids that we have.
No,
It would have been good if we had an exact replica of ourselves, but that's not what happened, right? And I had a moment one time with my youngest where he was having an anxiety attack and I was able to take him through tapping and breathing and everything. And I didn't yell at him and go, "Oh my God, you're making such a big deal. Quiet down. The neighbors can hear you," which is what I might have done. Like, I don't even understand the reaction to this. Like, take it and cut, right? And then I came inside and my incredibly wonderful 25-year-old was inside the kitchen. And I stopped and I held her hands and I said, "I want to talk to, 5-year-old Emily, and I want to apologize that I couldn't be that mom because I know she's sitting in the kitchen watching."
Right, I've done that.
Right, and I will apologize to my older ones that I wish I could have given you this version of me.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah,
but we can't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a perfect world.
It isn't. It isn't. And again, it's not an excuse. It just is what it is. And I will say, if you're an adult and especially past your Saturn return, deal with your shit. Go get therapy. And your parents don't have to agree or own up or apologize. They can stay in their line of thinking because that's their walk. It's up to you to decide how you want that relationship to go. Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to deal with your own stuff.
Right. And we can't make a parent an older parent either, because I dealt with that with my mom. I could do all of the healing and understanding and neuroscience and astrology and trauma and I still couldn't, I could explain it all to her, but if she wasn't ready, she wasn't ready. And I couldn't judge my success as a daughter based on her ability to relate to me.
Yeah.
if she wasn't ready to heal her wounds. So like I
Yeah.
learned not to take that on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can't make, you can't do something different to make your parents give you the thing that they should have
No.
been given you from childhood.
Right. And they have their own background. Again, not an excuse, it's a reason.
Right.
And there's a big
Right.
difference between excuses. Oh, they didn't know any better. Well, we didn't know any better either, but we looked stuff up, And some of
Yeah.
that information wasn't new when we found it.
Right. And I mean,
Some of it had existed for a while. Other stuff came in, like neuroscience changing and all of that. Like the mid 2000s, so many new things showed up. But yeah. But yeah, I would.
And languaging is so languaging is so important. And it's okay to create healthy boundaries with parents or older siblings.
Or your adult children, or
right. Well, I mean, but like if you have a parent that's still kind of like not figured it out, right? They're slightly abusive in their manipulation or emotional manipulation or whatever.
You have every right to hold the boundary. You don't have to be in a relationship with them. And I was no contact with my parents for years and years and years.
Yeah.
We will never see eye to eye. We don't have those conversations.
Yeah. You could be.
There's no point.
You could be in contact and just choose not to tug on that thread when they give you a question that's really kind of none of their business, that you don't, right? That you can just say like, hey, appreciate your thoughts and I'll take that into consideration and like, thank you for sharing. And not actually, that's a healthy boundary. You don't have to answer their question if it's none of their, if you're a grown person and it's none of their business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to understand, you don't need somebody else to agree with your perception for your perception to be right and true for you.
Yeah.
You don't need agreement for it to be. I wish I would. That's the one thing I wish I would have known, much younger.
Right.
But you don't have to, you don't have to put other people first, including parents.
Right.
It's not about whether
the self-actualization, and then you validate yourself so that you're not then waiting like, oh, I figured it out. Now I just need my parent to validate me. Sometimes you will never get the approval from a person, not because of who you are, but because of who they are.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And making peace with that is immeasurably valuable to our own sense of learning how to self-soothe and giving ourselves our own validation. And we can have our own epiphanies and also, not need somebody else's approval, and then also not expect once you figure it out to have everybody else also get on the same page.
Yeah, because it doesn't work.
Yeah. Right.
So. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, understanding the perception that it is life-changing. It is.
Absolutely.
It is. And again, with Venus conjunct Saturn, Venus conjunct Pluto, it's so December. But with Venus conjunct Saturn, we have this opportunity to kind of shape our reality with fantasy in a way, but to create our own livable fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? Excuse me. I'm missing the messages in Meta. There's a conversation going on I missed.
I think those are two people deciding that they bonded in your chat, and they're going to.
Oh, okay.
They're finding a common place, a meeting place outside.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. No, you're fine. And I'm glad you're connecting. Definitely the hardest part of your life. You need people to be happy with you. And see, you don't need people to be happy with you. You think you need people to be happy with you. Do you have a Leo Venus? I'm just curious. There's a lot of time. Go ahead. Oh, is that your daughter?
No. That is.
Oh, okay.
That is.
Sorry.
That is one of my frequent flyers.
One of your peeps?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's, and I was saying to a friend the other day, it's never other people's shame that I worry about. That's a them problem. Their opinions of me are none of my business. When I can detect that I've got something so delicately interwoven in shame that I didn't recognize before, it's my own shame that'll rob me of balance, of inner peace, of serotonin, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's my own. I'm never worried about anybody else's shame. We have to kind of detect where we're sensing, shame.
Oh, I know. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you, Shauna.
She says she.
And that was sweet,
wishes
April.
she had a
She
Leo
wishes.
Venus. Yeah.
Oh.
It's so funny. I've been watching the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, and like Lori said before, you can't. Once you're an astrologer, you don't want everything is through that lens, because
everything's
said to somebody, it's not what I do, it's who I am at this point. It's not a separation. But I was thinking I would really love to pull the charts of all of those people, because I'm hearing them talk about, like, there's no better sound than the laughter of the audience. And I just want to check out the 5th house and the Leo placements. And I would love
the
to
Gemini.
Right. And do, the funny, but it's like the need, because what those people.
Laughter is crack.
Right. But on SNL is fucking rough, man. Like, so I'm watching it, like, and I kind of already knew that, but like everybody is spilling the beans on like how tough that was to get in, how tough they don't laugh on purpose during your audition. Like, it's amazing if you get a chortle. So I was just thinking, like, that's a special kind of funny, because that's the funny who like really, really needs. I think that would be such an interesting, like, pulling all the charts of everybody on SNL.
Well, I've got Will Ferrell.
I love him. There's a whole episode just on the cowbell. It's a whole series, the SNL thing on.
Oh yeah, I think I saw clips of that.
And
the cowbell is everything.
And they actually
get this.
Go ahead.
So he actually doesn't have anything, or like he's got Capricorn, and he's a Virgo rising. So he's got Capricorn and Aquarius in the 5th, no placements. He's got a Scorpio moon in the 3rd house, conjunct his Neptune. Talk about freaking the sheets. Yeah. And he's got a Libra Mars. That does not surprise me. But he's got his Pluto-Uranus conjunction, because he was born in 1967. The Pluto-Uranus conjunction was separating, and that's in the 1st. That Uranus in the 1st. He's quirky, and he's got a Virgo. He's so free.
So he's a Virgo rising. Uranus in the 1st. That's
I'll share this
important thing. I tell my kids, you can tell me I won't like you to tell me that I didn't make something well, or you can tell me a lot of things, but when you say I'm not funny, them's fighting words. And I am also rising with Uranus in the 1st. So
yeah.
Tracy Morgan said, people, you could tell jokes, you could do this, but are you funny? He says. And somebody said, Tracy, when did it start? He said, when my mother's water broke.
Oh, I love that. Right?
I thought that is, I'm pretty sure I was cracking jokes as soon as I could speak. Oh, thank you, April. I love you back. And you are worth it.
So who was that? That was the last one you mentioned, Tracy Morgan.
He's got such a story. I would love. I've never looked at the chart of the Walmart truck accident, but
oh yeah, that was horrendous.
Yeah, this
is his chart. Guess what? Aries. Well, hang on. We don't have a birth time, so we don't know what houses everything is. But he's got. Hang on. Let's share this tab.
I'm trying to say, I'm trying to see your. That's probably.
I just switched it over.
Is there a Rodden rating, or no? There isn't.
Well, I'm just using. This is Astrology. I don't see a Rodden rating. This is his date. It's just his date of birth. There's no time, so it doesn't matter. I also, I don't trust the modern charts with Rodden ratings, because Schofield has collected a lot of those, and he's bullshitting, because I know a couple of people whose charts have been collected and they're not correct. Just an FYI, little T,
Oh, this is
little
Tracy
T.
Morgan. Okay.
This is Tracy Morgan, but look at that. He's got like there's and again, he's born in 68, so he's a year older than me, and he's got Uranus and Jupiter, Mars. Is that all together in Leo? In Libra? Hang on. Or is it Virgo? His Mars is on my Jupiter
He
Uranus
does have
conjunction.
Leo in the 5th house there.
Yeah, but it's not, we don't have a rising though.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I know. I thought of the same thing, but it's not there.
Also,
But again,
the
there's
moon,
more
how-
Scorpio.
what degree is that moon? Could the moon have gone into Leo that day?
No.
But he seems
can
less.
go-
It's
yeah.
funny. That's why I would love to pull the charts because some of them seem really almost dependent. Like
Yes,
it's
Martin Short. Let's look at Martin Short.
I
would give odds on him
Martin
having
Short
Leo.
in this house. Martin Short and Danny DeVito both have. We had an altar. There would probably be a little Martin Short and a little Danny DeVito on our altar over here.
Do we not have a time for him? No time for him either. He's got Aquarius, Venus, and Jupiter. So that's that. And he's got Pluto in Leo.
Mm-hmm.
But again, more Uranus conjunct. Like he might have. We don't know what time. Let me check
Right.
a different source really quick for that. Hang on.
Molly Shannon was that what surprised me the most. That was talking about like how it's like lifeblood. And
oh wow.
Yeah, and it was Fred Armistead said, "I would love to see what we all have in common." And as I'm thinking, like, I want to pull these charts and see what they all like, some kind of something, because like as you say, and I always say, Lori says, nothing is incongruent in astrology, but it, he was like, "Oh, I'd love to see if we were all like have the same." He said something about born on the same, day or have that. He borderline mentioned astrology, and I found that very interesting.
Right.
But like Jim Carrey tried out and they didn't take him. Like they also talked about who they turned down and how most of them were really successful too.
Well, I wonder what Lauren Michaels
hilarious
stuff is. I wonder what Lauren Michaels' astrology is. Because there's a lot of Virgo in these charts. So this is Martin Short. Hang on. This is Molly Shannon. She's got a lot of Virgo going on. I mean, some of that's the age group, but it's still a lot of Virgo because it's not just outer planets. She's got the Leo. Look at that. She's got Venus and Mars. She does not have a birth time here.
I know that Pete Davidson is a Scorpio, but when he talks about it, you can almost tell like it's where he feels balanced. Like it's almost like sad when he gets off stage kind of thing. He's very interesting to me.
I wonder if they have Lauren Michaels. Because, like, think about it. They turned down certain people and kept others. So I wonder.
And then there's that one he left. And then Dick Ebersol and someone else that I know the name and I can't think of it were running it. And they had Billy Crystal and Martin Short and all of them. And when Lauren Michaels came back to, like, take it back over, he let all of those, like, superstar, phenomenal people go and hired, like, and Robert Downey Jr., which I didn't know, was on like 3 episodes, played side characters, and then they let him go.
Wow.
Had no clue he was even on there.
Jupiter in Virgo. And he wouldn't have liked a lot of Leo, maybe with that Pluto in Leo there, because it would have been really, really intense for him. There's the Sag. And there's the Scorpio. So there were people so far looking at the charts. We've seen a lot of Scorpio, a lot of Virgo. Very little Leo. Molly Shannon was part of that.
Yeah.
That's
it was
interesting.
just something somebody said. I'd be curious to see if you watch it too, if you pick up the same people.
Uh-huh. No,
Like,
that's why we're going down the rabbit hole, because I'm like, oh,
right.
this is a
It was
cool
Molly
thing.
Shannon particularly who'd be like, it was the best, like, yeah, that needing to be seen. Who they said Bill Murray came in and was like almost like cocky about it. Like, I know I'm great. You can tell, like, it won't matter if you tell me I'm great, you know?
I think
I love Bill
that could
Murray's
be
stories.
that can be Leo, but it can be Sag energy too. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hang on. Let's see, Bill Murray. And I only say that because one of the things I'll say is don't try to impress me. Because I'm already impressed. Or I don't care if other people validate me.
Yeah. You're always like, you don't, my Leo Venus is like, I want to make you proud. My Virgo rising also. And you're always like, I'm already, you don't have to do anything.
I already am. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to earn it. It's already there. Bill Murray astrology chart. I'm just seeing if I can. I know his was one of the ones I studied a long time ago when I was young. And so I know there used to be a birth time. A lot of people are scrubbing their birth times.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't have a birth time for him either.
I get that door goes to the hallway and I can hear somebody going back and forth. And I just messaged my daughter and I'm like, are you okay? You need something? She's like, no, I'm fine. Do you need something? And I'm like, who's in the hall?
Right. We don't have a birth time for him, but look at all that Virgo for Bill Murray.
Wow.
Maybe that's my 10th house, Pluto Virgo. It's like, I don't need to be validated and I don't want people to try to impress me. Like, I don't want people to try.
That don't impress me much.
Yeah, I want, well, it's not even a dismissive thing, but it's more like know your own value is what I want. It's like, I want you to know that it's, and if I've asked you to like work with me, it's like, you know, I already think you're the bee's knees, you know, I wouldn't, that's probably my 10th.
And
I have already discerned your value.
Yes. I mean, which is super flattering. But like I always say there's like dating Joe or dating Jane or interview Joe or interview Jane. And then there's employee Jane and Joe, and there's relationship Jane and Joe. And so if you're putting on a performance, then I'm not really meeting the real you, right? It's all performance, all to impress somebody. And then it can only go down from there. So, right. I don't know where that is but I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Well, that's I think the Virgo energy in you too, that we see that. Oh my God, Lady V says my granny was a Virgo. She was pretty hilarious and made the FBI take off their shoes before they entered her house one time. And they did. Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
You don't mess with Virgos. Edna mode. I am Edna mode. It's conjunct myself node too. So it's a very, people often think it's an arrogance when I'm like, I don't need to be validated. I don't want to be compared to other people. I don't need other people's predictions. Poor Matilda. She gets Lori said, and I get Matilda said. And we're like, we know we're friends.
Yeah.
We're friends. We know.
Right.
But we don't need, like, she couldn't give 3 fucks what I predicted, and I don't give 3 fucks what she did. What interests us is that we use similar language, or we both, you know, we were on the mark. We do not do these together. You know, that's interesting, but we don't need to be compared to one another.
And it's a good marker you're both authentic because, you know, I've seen people be like, oh, somebody said the same thing I did about like a global prediction. And I'm thinking, well, like if everybody's tapping into source, then that's using the same language. Maybe they're copying off of you, but like no one, you know, automatically stole your prediction.
And that's one of the things when all those psychics were saying, I don't see an election. And I was like, well, that's not logically possible. But if things get annulled later on, there's no election, and that may happen. It may not be happening in this Like, I could have been off on timing, but everything was obscured. I still don't see this thing playing out the way it
Yeah.
looks like it's playing out. It doesn't, there's something weird and locking things down so we're not in communication.
Right. But it's also like,
Seems convenient.
it's not like it was a Miss Universe contest, right? Or a Miss America contest, and there's, 50 possible winners. If people were like writing you, right, to give a projected winner, and all
Right.
and the astrology is saying, well, it's not him. What else could we possibly say when we live in a two parties? Like, this is truly unprecedented times, and so
We are in very, it's
right.
it's-
So since we've been having elections, nothing has gone like this. And I mean, the U.S. Treasury on US.gov has literally officially acknowledged the, interference. So like, there is something wrong, and we're not,
we're not privy to everything, and I think people
Right.
are so used to instant gratification they want it
Right.
yesterday.
And with Neptune direct, there's going to be
yeah.
a lot of fog.
Yeah,
around the truth.
yeah,
Yeah.
fog everywhere.
Wow.
And no, yeah,
You took
yeah. Alicia, she
gremlins?
took, she did. Alicia's cool.
I would like to hang out with Alicia.
Alicia is very cool. She's going to be our MC in Palm Springs. So,
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, when we said, and a lot of people withdrew their energy too. So,
try keeping me away. I just don't want to be wherever the housewives are, wherever they go. That's where I just don't want to be. Palm Springs evidently is a big housewives. There's always some article about them embarrassing themselves in some place in Palm.
Well, but Palm Springs is a place to be seen.
Right.
Is what it is.
That's
it's a place
I just don't want to intersect. I'm going to tell you a little something. I was once asked, I will not tell you who it is. I was once asked to be one of the service providers at a wedding that was going to be filmed by E. And I'm quite a lively person. And I said yes because that was my client. Right. And so, and everybody was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I said, nope, because I'm going to be the most boring person ever. I do not want any footage of me. I am happy to give her vision for the day. I will not be associated with a flavor of love train wreck of a reality show of a relationship that we all know is toxic as AF. Like, I don't need to be famous that way. Like, it broke me, the idea that that's why I would have my 5 minutes of fame, was to just be connected. Right. And also because I love this person, I knew how toxic this was, and I couldn't talk them out of it. So I certainly didn't want to be like, well, your Titanic relationship is going down, but hi everybody, hey mom, I'm on TV.
Right. Yeah. I know the celebrities say they go there to not be seen, but it's a place to be seen not being seen. Everybody knows they're there. Southern Californians won't bother a celebrity in general. They'll just be like, meh, another movie star.
New York is very much like state New York is like that. My sister-in-law goes to the gym all the time with Rachel Weisz and Daniel Craig. And like, they just don't care up there. So they don't. Willem Dafoe also lives.
It's a different, yeah. It's just a different kind of being seen.
Yeah.
It's a different kind. But we're excited. So yeah, as far as Palm Springs, that's the Sassy Sears We Told You So tour, regardless of what happens this upcoming week, because I called a fucking iceberg. I told you so. And she's called her stuff. So 87% correct. Oh, cool. See? Elijah Wood in the Target. I love that.
I did not. I'm having such a good time. I didn't realize how late it got. I have like a master workshop thing.
I know.
ESAR tomorrow. And I still have not eaten.
Cool.
I enjoyed.
Oh no, you got to eat.
Yeah,
Thank you. My headphones are about to die, so
I really enjoyed this, and I love your community that you built, and the the
Thank you.
conversations, and I appreciate being let in because Lori's a big deal, and like I could understand if your people are like protective of your space. So I get that, and I understand, and I appreciate
They
it.
know I bring good people.
Yeah, and hopefully I will see some of you in a session.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Remember, if you're at P-Train, you got your special discounts. So you can use those on any reading with Susie or me or a life coaching session with Kirsten. So any and all of that.
You're booked up,
So
lady. You got to start opening your March.
I already did. My March is open.
Oh, okay.
Part way, not the whole way.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm open. And then Tuesdays are open in February because Tuesdays were not showing. They were on for the hours, but they weren't showing in the calendar.
I think it's interesting because we did Mercury retrograde, then we did Saturn square Mercury, and then we went right into Saturn square Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Mercury, and also Jupiter is in retrograde. So it just felt like a really, really long Mercury retrograde, and continues to.
It does, and see Jupiter. It's still kind of square, not quite square my Venus. Or no, it's still conjunct my Venus, but barely. But it's squaring off with Jupiter, which is squaring off like this weekend, squaring off with my Venus. Jupiter squaring off, Venus is squaring off. Super fun. But I really think it's the TikTok man more than anything else. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, God forbid you have 2 days to like woosah. I know you're going to be doing a million other things anyway.
I have to write because I've got a class coming up. So thank you guys. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, everybody who participated. Thank you, wonderful Alicia. Woosah. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
You'll take care of it.
I want an Alicia.
Alicia's amazing.
Alicia's all she talks about Alicia is like, oh, yeah, Alicia's amazing.
Yeah. See, Alicia is I manifested her so hard. It took a long time. But I'm like, oh, yes, April 26th. We don't have all the details yet. We're working on them. By April 26th should be the date. So it's okay. It's okay to cry. Yay! You listen while crocheting. Yeah.
I always say, as a great philosopher Shrek says, better out than in. Crying is cathartic.
It is. We're like onions. We got to do it. We're going to peel away the layers. Alrighty, my headphones are going to die, so I'm going to tune out as you are. Thank you so much. Remember that you can go to wokeastrology.com. That's where you can book online with both Susie Evolutionary, myself, and Kirsten Soga as a life coach, who is amazing. She's the headmistress at the Mystery School, which is one of the Awake Spirit. Yeah, she's headmistress. Well, her mom was English, so we can get away with that. But anyway.
My head went something else, but I'm a Virgo rising.
Oh, she's a Scorpio, and she would get what you were saying. She'd be like, "Oh yes, I could do."
She would pick up what I was putting
down. She would pick it up and she'd throw it back. But anyway, it's great. So if you're a P-Train, make sure you're checking your perks. All right, bye everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.